Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Grab a quick more Christmas. Right up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo! Move! Back up! Oh my God! It's hitting the monorail!
Get ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Theme Parkin', another edition here. I will say there will be a new intro video next week. I had to replace my computer today, and I ran out of time because apparently I didn't calculate it takes like 3 hours for a computer to transfer all its files over, and then I was up against the clock. So I have a few tidbits in there that I think would be pretty good. Perhaps I did try and do a monorail racing a car, but it didn't. I think I have to get the prompts a bit better because it is AI slop that we use these things for. But I hope everybody's doing well. We got some good stuff to talk about today. Obviously, we have the new Disney CEO discussion, which I'm sure is going to be very interesting. All the little ins and outs of that, which I think we all basically predicted how that was going to happen in terms of who was going to get it, even the secondary roles. And we're also going to talk about Universal Studios had a record-breaking quarter with Epic on the books, and then we'll see what else we get to. We're just going to have a good time here. But I'm joined, as always, by my fine guest on this show. We have Orange Grove 55. OG, thank you for being here, as always. And where can everybody find you out here on the interwebs?
Yeah, no, it's always fun talking shop with you gentlemen. Appreciate you both. Everyone in the chat, what's going on? I see Rogue Attraction. I see Rudio, Pandora, Kiki and Luca. Everybody, thank you for joining. But you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking studio, theme parks, all that good stuff with these gentlemen all the time. Also on X, Orange Grove 55, and on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. We actually talked about Bob Iger's photo shoot a couple videos back. I thought that was a fun. I actually shot on my video. I was like, go check out that one because OG and I had some thoughts about Bob's little photo shoot in Abu Dhabi he decided to do just after the Walt Disney footage came out. Just coincidental there, I think. But also
completely, absolutely. With these white shoes that probably cost more than my car.
Custom made Bob Iger Lacoste or something like that. You never know. And we're also joined, of course, by Theme Park Philosophy. Jose, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you?
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoy these chats, and thanks for everybody that's joining tonight. We have some looks like we have some new faces in here, and everybody that is always here, thanks again for joining us once again. As far as we can find me, you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Theme Park Philosophy.
There he is.
There we go. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get on into this because I think we all have some interesting, probably some insight about the new CEO announcement, which we had talked about, for a better part of a year at this point, about it was looking like it was going to be Josh, and we'd be shocked. I think we even said like 98% sure it was going to be Josh, and that turned out to be the case as Josh D'Amaro was named the next Disney CEO in a unanimous vote. And then also Dana Walden is going to be president and chief creative officer, both getting hefty raises. I think Josh D'Amaro's package is like $38 million, and Dana Walden's is like $28 million, something like that. Wow. And we don't know who's going to be running the parks division, but also as part of this, which I do think is an interesting wrinkle, is Bob Iger's leaving early. So that was sort of rumored that was going to be the case, but they said D'Amaro is taking over on March 18th after the annual shareholders meeting, and then Bob is going to be just an employee of Disney, I guess, consulting, and he may not stay the entire, until December 31st when his contract expires. So What do you guys think about Josh being named CEO? Anything interesting you felt about this?
Well, a couple things here. One thing in particular, that interview with I think it was ABC, right? With Josh and Bob Iger. I don't know. Maybe I'm being like a nitpicky fanboy, but like for me, I don't know why Bob Iger needs to be always like sitting next to the next CEO. He did the same thing with Bob Chapek with Chapek's first interview. He sat right there next to Chapek, and it was like this weird, awkward situation. And then he's doing it again with Josh, and then it's like this weirdness. And Josh is over here kind of like kissing his butt, I don't know. The energy is really weird. And I just kind of wish that Iger would just let Josh shine and do his thing. Why didn't they have Josh and Dana sitting in those chairs? Like, why was Iger there? I don't understand. I don't know. That bothered me.
I did a reaction to that for my video today, and it was weird. Like, and I will say, and I said in the video too, Bob's looking old. Like, Bob really starting to show his age the past year or so, I would say. And I think a lot of people are worried that Bob Iger is going to reemerge and he's going to do the things he did with Chapek. I get the impression he's ready to go. I think this second go around hasn't gone exactly like he thought it would. And he seemed like tired in that interview. Almost seemed kind of frail too, which I know he's getting up there in years, but I do agree. It would have made way more sense to have Dana and Josh, but I think D'Amaro said like 3 or 4 times how great Bob was the entire time. I'm like, okay, we can it. Like you got the job. You don't have to suck up to him anymore. Like you can just kind of hey,
yeah,
Bob.
you could take your foot off the gas, a little bit there. And but in terms of Josh, here's the thing. I think he ran this race masterfully. It was really Dana Walden's to lose early on, and Josh came in and outmaneuvered her like crazy, which is really because Dana is a brilliant executive too. You know what I'm saying? So that's to Josh's credit. One of my big concerns was actually the studio side of things. We have streaming. We have, possibly Netflix buying Warner Brothers. We have AI. There's a lot of like pretty seismic, significant things out there right now on the studio side of things. And to have a theme park guy go in there, honestly, it's right now, especially it makes me nervous, but Disney addressed that by promoting Dana, who is a studio person, to president and also I believe chief creative officer. So she's definitely she's not like a co-CEO, but she's close enough. She can kind of manage that Hollywood part of it. And I think they did that on purpose because they know Josh lacks that experience, right? So I think they made a good decision with that. I think I talked a lot about it with Seymour Duck, also on my channel, where like Josh has been getting real bullish on the gaming stuff. And I think that's going to be big. That was probably something that the board factored into the decision to promote him to CEO. I think he's handled the gaming stuff pretty well overall, because I do think that is a good direction for Disney to go in. I mean, you have this company that's kind of been known for their IP flywheel, whether, you have these great franchises and you kind of utilize them in like multiple different ways, whether it be theme parks, movies, TV shows. And now they're going to utilize these IPs in gaming in all new ways. I think that was really, really smart. And Josh has been really spearheading that. So I think that was a big part of this whole thing. And I think even the Epic Games CEO congratulated Josh D'Amaro the other day on Twitter. It was kind of funny. But overall, I think it was a good move. I think the Dana thing makes me feel a lot better about the situation. Josh in that interview said he's a risk taker. I like that. I think any Disney CEO should be a risk taker. I think you're dead in the water if you're running Disney and you're playing it safe. You have to take risks. This company was born and birthed on risks. Walt Disney was told he was crazy, to build a theme park. He was told he was crazy to do the first animated film. Risk taking is built into the fabric of Disney. So I like that he said that. Now, again, this is words. Let's see if he can follow it up with actions. So
yeah, I will say I was pretty surprised that Dana Walden not being president. We had kind of actually predicted that could be the case. The chief creative officer is interesting because I don't know how creative she is. I mean, she just seems like your typical corporate executive. But I think her getting a promotion was always going to be part of this. And Jason, Jay Shear, what's up, Jay? Jason, Bob should have said, I passed the golden cardigan to my good friend Josh.
Yeah,
I really would have liked to have seen that. But Jose, what do you think about all this with Josh getting the CEO nod and everything?
Yeah. So Disney finally traded in their cardigan for a zip-up sweater, which is a big move for Disney. I thought they would never do it. 20 years of cardigans. I never want to see another cardigan again after Bob Iger's tenure. I mean, that's a long time. I mean, it feels like we're overthrowing the empire or the emperor, if you will. But I think that Josh D'Amaro, look, I think he's pretty safe for the Disney company. The guy has been, as Boardwalk Times put in an earlier podcast with Orange Grove 55, the guy's been running 80% of the company for years now. And so really the only thing they need to tighten up is the studio side. And Sean Narani says it here, the studio side is the side that needs to tighten up the most. And yeah, and I think that the lukewarm sentiment when it comes to the stocks went down about 5 points afterwards, after the last quarterly earnings. Shows that the studios do need to tighten up because they were down 35% for the quarter in terms of overall revenue. And a lot of that was because of the Fubo deal, but a lot of that was because studios were over budget. But, with Dana Walden, I think has some more operational discipline than she was able to flex, being that she was the co-author for the entire entertainment division with Alan Bergman. And I think Bob Iger did a poor job of pulling in the reins when it came to a lot of the fiscal discipline, when it came specifically to last year, which is why I think the entertainment division hurt so much and why the market responded so negatively to it. But the first thing, Jay actually asked 3 questions here. What are the first 3 things that Josh D'Amaro needs to do? I think the first thing he needs to do is he needs to empower Dana Walden. I think that it's very important for him to empower his number 2 person, because if Dana doesn't have his back, then nobody's going to have his back, right? Like the buck really stops with them too.
Well, that's a good point, because under Chapek, I mean, kind of backstabbing and Iger loyalty is kind of what did him in. Yeah. I think it was Christine McCarthy that was kind of the one that he thought was a trusted comrade or person in the company, and they ended up kind of the ones that spearheaded getting him out of there. Now, I don't think that risk is there as much with this go round with Bob, but definitely, like, I don't know. Maybe they have a great relationship, and I've said the entire time that needs to be a very, like, almost a marriage. You need to trust each other a lot. So hopefully they do, but that would be the one wrinkle I would throw in this is I don't know her. I really don't know anything about Dana Walden, but you usually don't get that high up in companies by being just nice to everybody. I imagine there's some, backroom dealing. Who knows? But I think that is a wrinkle I would say was something he may be aware of to navigate maybe.
Well, what Josh has going for him is that he's pretty much known for being an everyman. There's really nobody that has a complaint about how Josh D'Amaro handles the cast members, the Imagineers, and even when he does meets and greets in the parks, which, by the way, this is like the first CEO that actually enjoys being in the parks in like 30 years, right? So he really has a knack for being real with people. And I think because of his ability to build relationships, I think it's going to really work in his favor. And look, just as another initial thought here, this is the first time that the Disney company has 2 leaders where creativity and operational discipline get to have a really strong dialogue. And I think that Dana and Josh are going to be able to establish that. It hasn't been since Frank Wells and Michael Eisner where they've been able to have a very strong dialogue. And it's very critical for this company to have the ability to balance the both out. Otherwise, what happens is the Chapek situation, where you don't have that counterbalance, that creative counterbalance. Not only was it lacking under Bob Chapek, but Bob Chapek didn't even know that conversation needs to happen at an organizational level that high, and he completely killed the creative process. And what happened was eventually, the company just fell into mediocrity because of that. But I don't have that fear with Josh. And I don't think a lot of people do, simply because, again, of the relationships that Josh has built with creative. And Jared, you bring up a really good point with Dana. Dana, I don't think she's like an artsy fartsy creative, but what she does have is she has very high, I would say she has a very deep understanding of what to choose to put money into and what to spend money on when it comes to creative developments that might be happening, and the green light process or the green light. I would say like her record for green lighting TV shows on Hulu and Disney has been really strong in my opinion, and she's racked up a lot of Emmys because of that. And there's a lot of things that I think she's going to be able to do better now that she has now that Kathleen Kennedy's gone. I think that's a big thing, and I think that she's going to be able to exercise a lot more of that I would say like the creative greenlighting discipline that she's able to exercise at the other studios like Fox and Hulu.
Jose, I think you're right on that. I think we're going to see like the true Dana. I think the more and more I see with this whole situation, I think Bob has been meddling in a lot more than people think he has been.
100%.
Yeah, you could even feel the energy in that interview. Like it was almost like DeMauro, like the dude's looking over his shoulder kind of vibe, right? And here's the thing, and I've said it before, Dana Walden did an amazing job over at Fox. She crushed it, and she's a progressive, and Rupert Murdoch's very much conservative. They got along great. She did a lot of great stuff. She comes over to Disney, and she's fumbling like crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And I just think that there's a lot of Bob Iger meddling with that whole situation. With Bob Iger out of the picture, I'm very curious to see what Dana does, because I think she's a smarter executive than she's been showing lately. And I think that's a lot of Bob's influence. I really do. But again, that's just me speculating. I mean, I don't know for a fact. I don't have any inside knowledge on that. But like, I get that vibe. And Bob Iger seems like he's been getting a little more, I think since he's been back in 2022, a little more micromanagey.
Yeah, I mean, there was some people that were saying that a lot of the Lucasfilm stuff was actually Iger's doing, which, I mean, Iger did take a very hands-on approach. He was even doing dailies on movies and stuff, which I don't think a CEO with all the things you are responsible for, I don't really think that's the best use of your time, because it seems like you're not trusting your creatives at that point. And it's a really good point you bring up, Jose, about the cost, because I think that's the one thing that has been just hurting them is obviously they've had the studio side with the movies. They've grossed a lot of money, but the cost of these things, like the profits aren't where they want them to be. And Rogue Attraction brings up a good point about, is Dana just the no, this costs too much person like Frank Wells was? It's a really good point, because you do want, I mean, the thing I will say about Josh, I think he's a pretty safe bet. I actually think he has the potential to be a pretty decent CEO. I think if your bar is Bob Chapek, I think he's already off to a much better start with that interview. Like he's very good in that element of like how he comes across. He's personable. He's not going to struggle in those areas like Chapek did. I think he's a safe bet given the park stuff, but he's going to have to do something that basically like his signature stuff he wants to do. But I guess the question is, does he do it in this first year, or is it once Bob's completely out the building? Like that's the element I'm really curious about, is does he come out the gate strong? And I wonder with James Gorman involved this time, I feel like this has been a better run thing than last time. And I do wonder if maybe they've made Bob sign some stuff to be like, you can't say anything. Like you can't get on, like, because last time he was undercutting Chapek on everything he was doing. And that's just a bad look for Iger. It's a bad look for your company. Like it just doesn't look good for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, if I was Josh, I come out hard. I come out aggressive the first 18 months, and I do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, if he lets Bob Iger kind of run the show from the sidelines, or pull the same kind of stunts he did with Bob Chapek, he's dead in the water. But here's the thing with Josh, though. Josh is a very savvy executive, not just with the business stuff, but he's very socially intelligent, which I think is extremely important. Bob Chapek didn't have the social intelligence to navigate these waters. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with. Well, even like Bruce Vaughn had really nice things to say about DeMauro. A lot of the people inside the company seem to be very happy he is the CEO. So I definitely think it's a different situation than when Chapek was named it, because I think most people were like him, and even people inside the company. So I agree. I think it's different. And I agree. Like, you're not guaranteed. I mean, all you got to do is look at Chapek. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this go around, but I wouldn't wait. If there's stuff you really want to do, let Iger, if Iger's going to go out here and say stuff, like let him do that. That's going to look bad on Iger, in my opinion. And I don't think, I mean, again, how old's Iger? Like 74? Somewhere around there?
He's in his 70s.
He's like, getting up there.
I don't think he wants to come back by any means. And I think even if he did, you'd be in the same spot again. They'd be like, okay, Bob, cool, you're back. Who's the next CEO then? Now the third go round with this, I just don't see that. So
No, I mean,
I think at least like 5 years, I'd say at the very least, and then go from there.
absolutely. And actually, the way Josh D'Amaro conducted himself with the CEO race, I have a lot of confidence. He knows this ain't his first rodeo. I'll say that. This guy knows how to maneuver this stuff, and he's not going to be the pushover that Chapek was. So if Bob Iger wants to meddle and do his thing, I think he's going to have a harder time doing that to Josh. I really, really do.
Well, and I think the sentiment, it's interesting with Josh because we've talked about this numerous times. I've had a lot of criticisms about the park changes, but I've been around theme parks long enough to remember there were rumblings about Disney wanting to charge for all these things they're charging for now. Back in the day, they just never pulled the trigger. And I think they waited until COVID and they're like, okay, here's our perfect opportunity to do these things we've wanted to do for a while, given everything changed in 2020. So I don't know how much of the park stuff is solely on Josh. I think he likes the park. I think he's very into the parks. He knows those very well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to, I guess maybe some of this changes we'll see. Were these things that he wanted, or were these things that were forced on him and he kind of starts going a different direction? Because I do think you have a potential issue in the years coming of a guest satisfaction issue with the price increases, the value and things. Like we talked to this before.
Oh, yeah.
And if he starts addressing those things, because I think his first move will be to do some stuff with the parks because that's what he knows. That's what the fan base that knows him is aware. And a lot of people aren't aware of him because they're not into the theme parks. So I do feel like his first move or two he might do is something directly to do with the theme parks. And I'm very, very curious. Like you said, like, does he come out the gate hard, which I think he should as well. I don't think you should be holding back just because Bob Iger is sitting in the office and you might have to have some weird glances in the hallway. And I do wonder about maybe James Gorman, the board, being like, you're the guy. Like, if it was me and have the last situation arise, I would be like, listen, you can do whatever you want. You're the CEO. Don't let Bob feel like he can't do something. And this might be a conspiracy. With Bob exiting early, I kind of think that could be Disney's very nice way of being like, thank you, Bob. That's time to go. Like, get him out the picture as quick as possible, because him lingering around is not going to do anybody any good.
No, you're right. And one thing that I'm really worried about, and Jose, I think, and Jared, we talked about this in our group texts for a while now. One thing I am worried about is Pandora now. I am starting to get a little bit more worried, and I'll tell you why. Bob Iger keeps talking about, remember the other day he was talking about, the Fox deal. Now, in hindsight, I didn't pay too much for that. There's a lot of legacy, like, what's the word for it? Like sales.
Maybe.
Yes, that's a great word for it. Legacy reframing, right? Now, Pandora is Avatar, which was part of that Fox deal. So, Bob Iger, how do you justify a $70 billion acquisition? Well, you start to utilize a lot of these franchises. Avatar is one of them. We'll build one in California. We'll build one in Shanghai. We'll build one here. We'll build one there. But is Josh D'Amaro going to have that same desire to do that with this franchise? He's not doing the legacy. It doesn't really matter to D'Amaro about the $70 billion thing for Fox. He's not trying to protect any kind of legacy. Iger was. So right. I am worried that they're going to cancel that project or something. I'm getting a little more worried about it. I really, 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 really hope they don't, because I fell in love with that land in Florida. I think it's one of Imagineering's best work. I really want that here in California. I would be disappointed. I still believe it's coming, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't getting nervous a little bit. You know. So
yeah. Well, listen. I think that Josh needs to address something really important for the shareholders, primarily to build confidence. Because right now it's cautiously optimistic. That seems to be the sentiment just across the board when it comes to internet personalities, Disney fans. I'm hearing a lot of positive things from the majority of Disney fans. But in terms of market sentiment, I think cautious optimism is probably the best case scenario right now for Josh and Dana. What Josh needs to do is a couple of things. Number two, Josh needs to identify any cost-cutting or operational cost-cutting low-hanging fruit. Jay actually brought up a good one here. Just crush the whole Disney AI thing. I agree. I don't think Disney needs to spend any money on an AI content platform for Disney Plus. Nobody's into it. Nobody, like when they made the announcement, nobody bit. Cut it out. Secondly, they have ESPN direct to consumer launching. Well, meet with ESPN and find out what it is you need to do to increase the margins so that when you're going into quarter two, you've already established within your first, 60 days, 30 days, that the shareholders are like, okay, this guy's an operational guy. We know that because he's been the head of experiences now for years, but now he's also applying the same operational discipline to the entertainment division as well, because that's not Dana's job anymore. Now she's the chief creative officer. So she's in charge of, you could say the AI, but ultimately the buck stops with Josh. And so that's the second thing I would do. And then when it comes to the parks, Josh is the brainchild of the $60 billion investment, but what he hasn't done is he hasn't cleared the air and provided all the specifics as to where the $60 billion are doing. And shareholders hate vagaries. Like, they need to know specifics. So if you want to give the shareholders the warm fuzzies, be super specific about where that $60 billion is going. And hey, look, if again, when it comes to the lineage thing, when it comes to Bob Iger putting Pandora in DCA, I'm not a big fan of the idea. And that might be because I don't live there. And so it's not a rejuvenating retheming for land for me. It's not something for me to get excited about, but I wouldn't be surprised if Josh says, yeah, you know what? We're not going to put that in DCA. We're going to put it in Abu Dhabi because that's going to be our new coastal park. And, that might be something that Josh does. And I think that the sooner he addresses where the $60 billion is going, what's going to happen with ESPN's direct to consumer launch, what Disney Plus is going to look like for the next 6 months, is this AI thing going to be a problem? Right? People didn't bite with that announcement, and maybe they were just putting that carrot out there to see how the public would react. But I think those are some of the things that Disney needs, or Josh needs to address up front. And then lastly, he needs to do a town hall meeting or several town hall meetings, and he needs to do his midterm election. He won, but he needs to do like his midterm election meet and greet tour and show that he's the people's champion. And I think he knows that, but it's a matter of executing it with the vigor that he executed his bid for the CEO.
Well, I think if anybody was going to bring back those kind of Walt, and Michael Eisner had this as well, you kind of it's Uncle Walt type of thing. Josh could do it. He could bring those back and kind of be. I think he'll lean into what he is good at, which is the everybody's person. He mingles with people well, so he definitely will play that up, I think, undoubtedly, because especially early on, because as he learns the ropes, he's just going to lean to what he's good at, his strengths. The AI stuff I agree with, but they brought that up in the interview, and I don't think they're backing off of that. And I think that $1 billion investment may be a bad one considering where OpenAI is, because I don't think they're going to win the AI stuff. I think Google Gemini is going to do that, and OpenAI is, I think they lost like $12 billion in a quarter and stuff like that. So I think and he even mentioned, I think Dana Walden said as well, like using AI to help streamline things. But Josh did go way out of his way in that interview to say AI is not going to replace human creativity. We're going to use it to like amplify artists and things like that. So I don't think the AI stuff's going anywhere. And I think the whole thing with Disney Plus is silly. But at this point, it might be too far down that path for them to pull it back. I don't know. Maybe he does change that. But I think if Josh here's what would be interesting. I won't be shocked if one of his first moves is a spin off that linear TV assets to a separate company like Comcast has done, like Warner Brothers has done. As your first move, I think that would go over well with investors.
I think that's definitely going to be a Q2 maneuver for sure. Because I think a lot of shareholders are not very happy that the shares, the shares still evaluated at $107 to $115, and it's been floating there for a while. And it's a healthy share value, but people want to have a return on their investment, which they haven't had for a very long time. And I think, Jared, you said a long time ago, like if you were still holding on to your Disney, are you still holding on to your Disney shares?
Oh no, I think I had Disney shares right after. It's around the COVID time because it bounced back and I sold it. It has not been a good return on investment type of stock the past few years, undoubtedly.
Yeah. So a lot of people are really down. A lot of people are down on the shares. But I just want to clarify that I'm not saying that Disney is going to get rid of or eliminate AI as as a modus operandi for how they're going to cut costs and speed films and TV shows to market. What I'm saying is they should eliminate the Disney Plus AI creative thing that that little idea they had there. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, and that's what Jay here is saying too, because that opens up a whole can of worms. I don't even know why Disney wants to police that whole situation. You're gonna have all these people making content. A lot of it probably is going to be trolling Disney and stuff.
Dude,
like obviously,
it's the internet. You're opening up the internet and being like, "Hey, come play in our playground." Like, I don't think they understand the internet very well, because you're going to get some wild stuff come out of that. Undoubtedly, I agree.
Yeah. Well, and then you have the inevitable comparisons, right? I mean, someone is inevitably going to make a really dope Star Wars thing, and they're going to be like, "Well, why can't Disney make good Star Wars? This AI thing over here is what." It just opens up a whole can of worms. I don't know why they're doing that. I like the idea of Disney Plus becoming kind of like a hub for a lot of different things. I mean, I think you can integrate like Fortnite and stuff like that into it. And I think you can make it like a one-stop shop for a lot of cool stuff. I just don't know if the user-generated AI stuff is really where they should be going. But hey, and here's the other thing too, to be fair, they were super vague about it, so we don't really know the ins and outs. It could be dope when they premiere it, or if they premiere it, but the way it was described to us, Jose, you're right. Everyone was like, no, we don't want this.
Well, like, it's just saying like, hey, you can make your own AI slop inside the app. And you're like, okay. Like, I don't know anybody that's gonna, like, I've always felt, and even them talking like the social media aspect of Disney Plus, it seems like they're just throwing anything they can at the wall with Disney Plus to see what sticks. Because I think at this point, and this is an issue Netflix has also, there's only so many subscribers you can get before all the people are subscribed. And I kind of think at this point with streaming, like, there's not really anybody new coming into streaming for the most part. It's about what's on stuff. So they're trying to find these little pockets they can do here and there. And I just think it just is weird. I think they're going to try and make it their just hub of everything, which I get to some extent. But yeah, the whole making your own AI inside the app, I don't know anybody that's going to be paying for Disney Plus. It's like, well, I pay for it because I like making Darth Vader have tea with Princess Tiana or whatever. This is like, who cares? Like, it's just a dumb thing. But
it is.
I think we were going to say, not that, again, making predictions at this point, it's like, who knows? I think three things that would be interesting, how it would go with the fan base in general, is like that linear asset spinoff. And that's not so much a fan base thing as it is the books and like investors. I think that is something that Disney has needed to do for a while. And they kind of, I don't think Iger ever wanted. I think this is also a generational thing. To Iger, TV is different than probably what it is to DeMauro. And so he was holding on to it, where DeMauro could spin that off and be like, listen, we're not making, we're losing money. It's a melting ice cube. Spin it off. Then maybe bring back Magical Express. Bring back something that was taken away over the past few years. I think would be a long ways to the fan base. And then some sort of proclamation about giving value back, like, you would think he would know as the head of the parks for a long time, even though they've been making money, kind of where the fan base is feeling some of these things. I wouldn't be shocked if you see a change maybe to DAS also. Like, there could be some things he does optically to kind of win over the easiest fan base there, which is the theme park people, as kind of his first hits out the gate.
Well, yeah, you're right. And I think he has to do that kind of stuff. Like, Bob Iger was smart when he came in. He brought Oswald back. He bought Pixar. A lot of smart moves early on. Josh needs to do similar stuff. Go in there. Get rid of reservations completely. Announce.
Yes, agreed. Yeah,
right. That would right there. That's an easy win for him. On the studio side, if he comes out and says, you know what, we're not doing live action remakes anymore. We're getting back to originality. Someone in the chat, I think it was Al Gregory, said, do hand-drawn animation again. Like, these are easy layups that he can just go out there and just, get easy wins, and you can stack those wins and build your momentum early on. If you can do a lot of this stuff in like the first 12 to 18 months, he's solid,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that the first thing, I agree with you guys. I think the first thing that Josh needs to do is he needs to optimize operational efficiency. But he needs to do it across the entire company. He needs to do it with ESPN direct to consumer launch, get rid of linear, clean up Disney Plus a little bit, and then him and Dana have a conversation how they're not going to have a repeat the next quarter when it comes to entertainment. Now, a lot of that is really kind of moot point because all the money's already been spent for next quarter, but they need to start coming up with with a roadmap of how 2027 is going to look.
Yeah.
Because they can't do that. You can't make $6 billion in revenue in theatrical and then be negative. Like, that's just, you can't run a company like that. And so that's a conversation they need to have. But then I think strategic partnerships, not just with the guests, but with, Open AI. They've already started the partnership with them. Josh D'Amaro created a partnership with Fortnite. There's a lot of partnerships that Josh has spearheaded with technology, in fact, which I think is a great thing. It shows that he's at least thinking in the right direction. The AI and technology and innovation are going to be what pushes this company forward. Otherwise, they're just going to be a legacy dinosaur. Right. Now, when it comes to things like appeasing fans, this is where I think that Dana Walden's her like operational discipline in terms of like choosing what gets greenlit and what doesn't. I think this is where that comes into play, because if you let the creatives run amok, then the budgets get out of hand, right?
Yeah.
And so this is where the dialogue between Josh and Dana become really important. Like, what are we going to greenlight and what are we not going to greenlight? Because you don't want to give the creatives too much leverage. You want them to be creative, but at the same time, though, you don't want them running the madhouse, because they will. They absolutely will. And we know this because this is what happened when Frank Wells died. Essentially, the creative side of Disney got out of control. Budgets started ballooning, and then before you know it, they were fiscally sabotaging themselves, really. And then, of course, with Bob Chapek, it was the inverse of that. It was the complete opposite.
Well, and Chapek approached it. I understand what Chapek was going for, but the way he did it, it came in as like, there's way, especially when dealing with creatives, and Jay would probably understand this, and we talked about this before, but it's like, you got to kind of caress them a bit. Like, you can't just come in and be like, no more. They're going to be like, screw you. Like, they're going to get mad. Whereas Chapek came in and was like, you bought coffee yesterday. That was like, everything was you said it was line item, like everything. So I think that could be where Bob Iger didn't want to be the bad guy. I think, obviously, for many ways. I think Josh may not want to be that either, but Dana could kind of be the hatchet man that kind of says no to some of this stuff. And like, I agree with you. Disney was much different after Frank Wells died. And I think the best of Michael Eisner was with Frank Wells. And so I think that dynamic is important to have and reining in these costs, because if you can do that, that's essentially like increasing your revenue if you can get this stuff under control, which has been an issue for Disney on the movie and TV side for probably 10 years. These budgets keep ballooning. I mean, Doomsday, that budget's rumored to be like 500 million, if not more, by the end. I mean, who knows where it ends up at the end of the day. So that will be something I think he definitely has to try and rein in.
Well, and I think what we need to see is the roadmap for theatrical for, Avengers Doomsday and beyond. It has to look completely different to what Disney is doing right now. And I think that one way that Dana can structure that is around original creative content. One of the problems that Disney has gotten themselves into in the last 10 years with Bob Iger is the sequel trap. And the problem with committing creative process to making another sequel and another sequel. And yeah, sure, it's lucrative for the entertainment side, but the problem is it's expensive. I mean, every time they do a new Toy Story, it's $150 to $200 million project, or any Disney animated product for that matter. So if they can maybe, switch gears and go more towards like Hopper Productions, which are, you're giving the creatives the leverage and the space to be able to come up with new ideas and new things. And at the same time, you can reduce those budgets down to $90 to $100 million, hopefully, with Dana Walden in charge. And like you said, you can generate more revenue by saving on the operational operational costs. So if they can wheel that in, they're doing two things at once. They're making entertainment profitable again. And while the revenue numbers aren't as high, you're not going to see this $5 billion, $6 billion annual revenue marks. You get it down to 2 to 3, but then your margins are good. You're doing two things at the same time. You're making entertainment profitable, but then you're reinvigorating the creative side of the wheelhouse, which has been lacking due to sequelitis for the last 10 years.
Yeah. I think that's the thing he needs to do is probably, I mean, they've even talked about that of original animated movies. Like, you got to get something that hits. I mean, they had Inside Out too, but you're right. Most of these are sequels. And I get why going with things that are proven. But the problem you have there is you have nothing in the pipeline, and then you're just working off nostalgia. And if you want to be a cutting edge company, you got to have new stuff. And especially with, I mean, look at Illumination with Mario Brothers. They're about to probably make almost $2 billion off of Mario Galaxy coming up. And although, so, I think the animation side is definitely something that needs a little bit of a shaking the tree a little bit there, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you guys a question, and I don't know the answer to it necessarily, but it's something that I was thinking about the other day. With this user generated AI stuff coming to Disney Plus, where people can create now on that platform, Disney Plus changes as a platform, because now you can watch the content like the studio made stuff, but you can also create your own content, right? Which is not too dissimilar from like a YouTube, right? Is Disney inadvertently, by having people be able to create on their platform, sort of helping Netflix acquire Warner Brothers? Because one of the big antitrust things with the Warner Brothers is the streaming services and the market share for that they would inherit if they were to buy Warner Brothers. But Netflix has argued that YouTube is a streaming service essentially and a streaming platform. So the market share is different when you incorporate YouTube. Does Disney Plus having user generated stuff kind of make the point for Netflix, like, hey, we're all kind of doing the same thing? You know what I'm saying? What do you think? I'm very curious.
It's possible. I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt their argument. I guess it depends on how widely accepted or does that part last. Because I don't know. The thing is, I just don't know what the appetite is for it. Like, we've had lots of questions, like, what's it even look like? I feel like it's Disney's way of trying to find new ideas. Like, you let people kind of seed ground here and stuff. You can see the numbers internally to see what people are into, and kind of gives you ideas of what you could do maybe. But I mean, it's a decent point, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see, tomorrow, like Ted Sarandos was yesterday or the day before, up in front of Congress giving some testimony about this. Because, and really, what would Iger kind of stayed mute on all this because of him buying Fox? But I'm kind of curious if Josh has some different views on this, because I do feel like if I'm him, I don't want this to go. You don't want one of your bigger competitors, especially in streaming, to get even stronger. So I think it would be in their best interest to try and not let this happen, would be my guess.
Yeah. I just thought that was kind of interesting, because it does change the platform. When now you're allowing people to create on there, and now it is just that much closer to a YouTube, so we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating.
Now, one thing I won't be surprised if we see, because I get the impression that DeMauro and Bruce Vaughn are pretty good friends. That's the impression I get. I'm not going to be surprised if you see DeMauro and Bruce Vaughn do a lot of stuff together to try and rehab the image of Imagineering, talking about what they're going to do in the parks. I could see a situation where they both kind of, maybe they do those like fireside chats about things like kind of Walt used to do. Like, I could see them doing some stuff together to try and get more excitement about this and bring back that sort of like, oh, what's Disney going to do next sort of thing. So that's another thing I could potentially see him doing.
I hope they do stuff like that. One of the things I loved about the Michael Eisner era is it felt like the Walt era 2.0, where it was like you had Michael Eisner up there, introducing the wonderful world of Disney. You had him out there kind of like, you had all these like specials showing all the new stuff coming to the Disney parks and things like that. I would like to see more of that kind of thing, where they kind of bring us into it a little more than they do now. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. And I wonder also, one of the things Disney did not like was the celebrity Imagineer. I don't know if you guys remember that whole thing. They didn't
like that. Yeah.
They didn't like that. I wonder if that has changed. Like, does Disney, maybe they'll kind of go back to that, where they celebrate, the key players in Imagineering and allow them to kind of do that thing. Or are they going to stay the course? I don't know. It seems like Bruce Vaughn, though, is in there to make some changes. It seems like he's pretty, I think he's a mover and a shaker. He's not resting on laurels. I see that he definitely wants to change things up, and so we'll kind of see what direction he takes it in. But I'd be curious if they bring that whole thing back. And I actually like that. When I was a kid, and these weren't Imagineers, they were animators. But when I was a kid, and I was maybe 12, 13 years old, one of the things that got me into Disney was the animation, the Renaissance era. But when I would watch like these, the making of Beauty and the Beast and the making of, Little Mermaid and stuff, you'd be introduced to all these supervising animators. Like one of my favorite animators during that time was Glenn Keane. I think you build a little bit of a connection with your audience when you know who's behind these films, who's behind these theme parks. It does change things. I know for a fact it really did fuel my passion for Disney, being able to like, oh yeah, he's my favorite, or she's my, I don't know. I think it was a bad decision for them to kind of pull away from that celebrity Imagineer thing, because I think people love these creatives. Let them be celebrated,
I agree. I think that gets into corporate egos, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if that was mostly coming from Bob Iger, to be quite honest, as the behavior we've seen from him, because I think it only helps you if at the end of the day, you're kind of looking at it as a company, it's a team sport. Yes. And it's if you're worried about who's getting credit for something, then your focus isn't on creating the best product. And I feel like Josh might, who knows, things could change, but he doesn't seem as egocentric as Bob, perhaps. And I think that would be a good thing if maybe Bruce Vaughn ends up being the one that kind of gets the notoriety and things like that. But I agree with you. I think if you found out Joe Rohde is working on Animal Kingdom, you're like, oh man, that's awesome. Or like Joe Rohde and James Cameron are working on Pandora. Like, that's cool. There's a lot of anticipation. And I think that's something that helps you. But yeah, I think it was a mistake for them to push back against the Imagineers getting credit and kind of becoming rock stars. I think that was just purely ego about who's getting credit for things. And that just seems silly to me.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think there's a different angle to that. What if, we've never heard about this, but what if they had problems with power consolidation occurring with Imagineers within Walt Disney Imagineering? So an Imagineer becomes a heavyweight, they become a star, and then all of a sudden, these guys have leverage that they shouldn't have, just simply due to the fact that they're now very popular amongst the tribe. And what if this is consolidating power where it shouldn't exist? And it created a lot of conflict. And that's the reason that they at least internally eliminated, what do you want to call the star power of the Imagineer? I mean,
fair point.
Well, it's
I just want to give like I just want to kind of look at it from that angle and see what you guys think.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, you've seen the same dynamic in sports where a player gets really notoriety. He has a lot of negotiating power. And I think it's one of those things. It's something that comes if you're going to play in that realm. I think on some level you're going to have to deal with that. And if somebody gets too big for their britches and you can't afford them or whatever, like you see players leave stuff all the time. But I feel like potentially anything can go to people's heads, even if you're just an Imagineer. I mean, you can go power hungry and things like that. But I think if you're wanting to control that, I understand it. But I think if you're getting into fighting about who's getting credit, I think that's where it gets silly. I think if you happen to get an Imagineer that becomes so big and popular, but they probably become big and popular because they're really good at what they do, and it's just like a star athlete, you're willing to put up with some stuff that they do versus somebody who's not as good. It's definitely another side to that. But if that's something that allows creativity to be there and excitement in the fan base, that might be something you kind of put up with on some level.
Because it's low hanging fruit. It shows that you're listening, and it shows that you're giving the audience what they want. I actually saw an advertisement today on Instagram. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was a Walt Disney Imagineering ad. Basically, the ad started with like little clippets of people Instagramming Walt Disney Imagineering and Disney Plus, saying, "Hey, can you bring Walt Disney Imagineering to Disney Plus? The show on YouTube." And it said, "You spoke and we listened." And then it showed all the little requests, the prompts popping up, taking over the entire screen. I was like, I've never seen that before. And did you guys see that ad? Have you guys seen that before? And do you think that's indicative of Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden's new approach to everything, really?
I haven't seen it. Go ahead, Ray.
I was going to say real quick, I just want to say thank you to Kiki and Luca for a gifted membership here, as well as on Orange Grove 55 as well. Greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, Kiki.
Didn't want to forget that. Thank you very much. I did not see that commercial. Was that like in the last couple of weeks?
It was this morning.
See, I'm wondering, like, we've had this discussion about, is Josh kind of already doing stuff behind the scenes even before he was named? Like, that could be something that he's kind of spearheading a little bit.
Well, no, I think it's very not odd, but very convenient, so to speak, where we saw a lot of changes in the last 2 weeks leading up to this big decision. We saw Kathleen Kennedy go officially. We saw big changes to Galaxy's Edge. He's probably been shadow running a little more than they claim he has been. You know, I just have a feeling, because here's one thing about Josh that I love. He does listen to the fans. That is a thing. I think that's very important to him. I think he's even said that in that interview. I believe he did, but you can tell he does listen to the fans. And the past couple of weeks, we got some fan servicey stuff. And then here it comes, the big announcement. Yep, Josh is CEO. I don't know.
Well, if you think about it too, one of the bigger complaints about Disney has been them not listening to the fan base.
Right.
I've always felt that's your lowest hanging fruit. And if anybody, I mean, I don't, Bob Iger never was a man of the people. Bob Iger looks really awkward when he's talking with just a normal guy. He's just like, hey, hello, nice. Like, he just doesn't know what to do with his hands or something. Whereas Josh is able, even though he doesn't come across as like a blue collar worker, he can kind of mingle in with people. And he does have his ear to that stuff. So if he wants some easy wins, doing some stuff that the fans have been asking for is a really great way to start your whole term off with, of doing things like that. So I definitely think, I agree with you though. I think there has been a difference in how Disney's approaching these things the past couple of weeks, which does make you wonder, like, was he already sort of like, I mean, I know they had a vote and all that stuff, but given it was unanimous, I never felt it was much of a competition. Like, Josh was probably already being like, okay, let's go this direction. Let's start doing some of this stuff and really kind of maybe going in once he's named CEO and kind of getting a head start on stuff.
Additionally, you want to give them rope to hang themselves while Bob Iger is still CEO. So that way, if they F up really bad,
it's true.
You change your decision quietly and Bob Iger, just takes over and reels it back in. But that's probably what they did. All the changes, all these little subtle changes that we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks and months is probably them giving them some rope, see what they do. And I mean, it looks like they met the board's expectations and Hugh Johnson and all those guys. And so, I'm looking forward to Josh. I really am. I want to see what the Disney company looks like after 90 days. That's the signal for me. Like, if the company doesn't look any different in 90 days in terms of laying out its parks roadmap, it's a parks roadmap, what theatrical is going to look like in the next year or 2 or 3, what they're going to, what are the plans for Disney Animation Studios? What's the plans for Pixar? Yes. Pixar right now is in a really bad spot. They have, look, in my opinion, this upcoming month or next month, whenever Toy Story 5 comes out, I think that's going to make or break Pixar, because they have 2 movies coming out, Chopper and Toy Story 5. And if Chopper bombs at the box office, that's not really good for Pixar. And the reason that's not good for Pixar is because now it's very clear, at least under the Iger administration. I know the Iger administration, the Iger leadership, that mandate has killed creativity, at least at Pixar. And so that would have to be something that Dana Walden has to fix.
That's a fantastic point. Well, and Pixar is worrisome because I love that studio. It just celebrated its 40th anniversary, by the way. But the worry for me too, Jose, you're right, with Pixar is if they're not knocking it out of the park anymore, and if they're not a hit maker anymore, I can see Disney looking at that going, okay, we have a little bit of a redundancy here. We have Pixar and we have Walt Disney Animation. Obviously, they can't get rid of Disney Animation because, I mean, it's Disney, right? Mm-hmm. So I could see them, if Pixar's underperforming, well, we'll just kind of like, fold it into the Disney Animation thing and just have one animation studio. I hope that doesn't happen. When I was at D23 a year and a half ago, like, Pete Docter was on a bunch of these panels that we were there and stuff. And I love that guy, man. I think he's brilliant. I think he's great. He's a nerd, he's really cool. I'm rooting for him. I really, really am. But it's just, they've been real hit or miss. Hopper, I don't know how that's going to do. I think Toy Story 5 will perform. But I don't know. It's scary. It really is. So that was a rumor that if
I think it was Inside Out 2 or some of those Pixar movies. If it didn't do well, they might wrap it up into Disney Animation. I think that is definitely something that could happen.
I think so too. I think it's a real possibility.
From a cost-cutting perspective, you got a lot, like you were saying, a lot of redundancies there. That's one of the cost-cutting maneuvers you could do, right? Especially once you implement AI into this also, that's going to cut out a lot of stuff on the, maybe not the creative end, but on the like back-end stuff to save money. And I think Josh could be a guy that does that.
Well, and you also have to understand too, everything else is out here in like Burbank, I believe, right? Pretty much. But Pixar's way out there in Emeryville, which is probably, to your point, Jared, probably expensive flying these executives back and forth, the whole 9 yards. I mean, they could save a lot of money just have it all out here in Burbank.
Well, they already offloaded a lot of the Disney animation stuff to Canada, to a third party out there. So they've kind of already, now that was under Iger, of course, but they've already kind of shown of doing some stuff like that before too.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, guys, because I think that Bob Iger, I mean, really through no fault, I don't think that any of the executives could foresee that people would get nostalgia fatigue, because the company's built on nostalgia. That's one of its cornerstones. And I think it was amplified under the Michael Eisner era when they created the Disney Adult. And so you combine the Disney Adult with nostalgia, and it just seems like the inevitable outcome of that is the sequelitis that was born out of the Iger era. And I don't think that they could have imagined they'd be in a position now where they have to try to find themselves out of it, because nobody is going to go see any original content, and everybody is just going to go see, and everybody's only going to go see the movies that and the characters that they are familiar with and have established nostalgic emotions with over the course of, I mean, decades now. The first Toy Story came out in the 90s, right? So so if you're Dana, if you're Josh, how do you get out of this hole? Because the only way that I see happening is if you retrain your audience completely, what does that process look like? And how long is that going to take?
Yeah. That's
well
a good
said.
point.
No,
I don't really know. Go ahead, OG.
It's an uphill battle. It really is. And Jay was saying too, another thing tomorrow must do is keep Disney apolitical. Stay out of politics on both sides.
And that's I've said for the whole time, that is a pro of tomorrow, is don't know his politics. And I think that as long as, Iger's even said they want to get out a lot of stuff they got involved with the past 6 years. If you're looking to reset things and kind of get Disney back on track in terms of the creative end of things like that, I think he does give you that potential also. So I also am cautiously optimistic about Josh. I think he can do a pretty good job. And I've never been a huge Iger fan. He's had some good acquisitions, but I think a lot of the success in the parks was set up from what Eisner did, to be quite honest. And I think the IP stuff in the parks, I understand it to a degree, but I also think it's gotten so far in that direction that even the Imagineering we're talking about, like, they weren't inspired to do anything because they couldn't be creative in many ways. So I think a lot of it was just too far in extremes in things. So maybe you can get them kind of back in the middle here and be more streamlined. And in terms of optics, I mean, he is the type of personality that typically has led Disney. I mean, you're talking about just sort of charming and charismatic, and I think he'll lean into that. So I think he potentially could do a good job. But obviously, I am very curious as well, the first 3 months, like out the gate, what happens or what doesn't happen. It could be really, really kind of telling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll see, and you're right, Jared. I mean, we don't know tomorrow's politics. Now, to be fair too, he runs the parks division, so the politics probably doesn't come up as much as like Dana's division, because she runs like ABC and stuff like that. So that may be part of why we don't know his politics, because he's a theme park person. But I have a feeling though he's not as charged up with that stuff,
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's okay to say I have no opinion, like, because you're not going to sway anybody. That's the same thing like celebrities going out here and saying stuff. It's like you're either playing to one side and you're going to make the other side mad. Like, you're not gaining anything by getting into these waters anyways. No. So it's just like, keep yourself out of it and just create things that people enjoy. I mean, that's really what Disney was known for when they, became what they became. So
the political party is the almighty dollar when you're a company like Disney, and that's it.
I've
Bottom
made
line.
that point many times. Companies don't have any inherent beliefs other than wanting to make money, and they'll say whatever they think is going to make them money. And you're kind of seeing a shift of things the past like year or two as well, kind of getting away from a lot. I think audiences are just tired of being lectured to. And so maybe Josh has his ear to the ground about that also, potentially. So we will, I think he might be able to. I don't think Josh seems like he has political aspirations like Bob Iger has seemed like he always had, which I think could be, again, I think a lot of stuff Iger did was for his own good, his own image and legacy, and not as much what was best for the company. And I think a lot of the political stuff, at one point, it was really rumored he was really trying to set himself up for like a presidential run. And I think he used the Disney company to help do that, to try and propel him into that sort of situation.
Not to dive into these waters too much, but I just thought of something. Isn't the California governor race coming up fairly soon or something like that? I keep hearing murmurs of people kind of like thinking about getting into the race and all that stuff. You think that's why Bob Iger's leaving Disney a little early to get ready for that?
I mean, you never know. That interview though he gave, he doesn't seem very energetic. I don't know. I mean, I get the impression he's just going to go on his yacht and hang out for a little bit. Maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe he just takes a couple months off, but it's definitely possible. I mean, like I said, I think it was back in I'm trying to remember the year it was, but there were a lot of rumors that he was going to make a presidential bid, and like he had people saying that they would back him and stuff, and it just never happened. But yeah, that part's kind of interesting.
Let me ask you guys one thing, because you two are Florida guys. I'm a Californian, right? Shout out to another content creator. Her name is Probably at Disney. She does great stuff on YouTube. Everyone should check her out. But she made a video the other day and saying that one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about when it comes to Josh D'Amaro is the fact that, yes, he was the parks guy, but he really started as a Walt Disney World guy. He was running Disney World, and he was based in Florida. Do you think that impacts some of the stuff? I mean, because I know a lot of Florida fans with the Iger years have felt like they've been kind of passed over a little bit. A lot of like California bias a little bit with Bob Iger. I mean, do you think that with Josh, his roots kind of coming from Walt Disney World, that might change? Possibly?
Definitely possible. I mean, it would make a lot of sense. There was that old adage, a lot of times it was like the money's made in Orlando, but the decisions are made in Burbank sort of situation. And Disney World is kind of looked at as like the afterthought many times because they were like, well, it's going to make money on its own no matter what. But now with more competition from Universal, I do think it's going to require a lot more effort at Disney World. So I think even organically, even without maybe Josh's, maybe he does kind of favor Disney World, which would be interesting. We really haven't had a CEO that's kind of done that. I mean, Eisner obviously had a lot of investment there, but I think it's going to, on its own, you're going to have to do more things in Orlando because and we're going to talk about Universal here next. They're not slowing down anytime soon. So I think you're going to have to get pretty creative and give it more attention. And maybe one of his first things he does, maybe the reason he didn't announce that was coming to Disney World, the Galaxy's Edge change, he's saving that for when he's CEO and say, by the way, there's also world. Like, there's stuff like that. Those are easy. If I was coming in, I might do something like that. Like, let's save that one for me. I want to make that announcement when I'm actually CEO, stuff like that. Like, there's some easy stuff he could do that you're doing out in Disneyland that you could just bring over to Disney World and get some very, very easy points with the fan base.
You're right. And the other thing, too, that I think is going to be very interesting is D23, because this is going to be the first expo with the new CEO and our new president. And I was kind of a little bit blowing off this D23 thinking, well, on the park side, they're probably just going to announce a bunch of stuff that's like just the details of what they already announced the last time. But I don't know now. Like, because Josh might want to get out there for his first expo as CEO and really just go for it, Who knows? I don't know. I'm very curious to see how it's handled, though.
Yeah,
I think I think if Josh handles it the way he handled last D23, he'd be in the best place because he handled it well. I don't think he needs to deviate in any way. Maybe take a little bit more of an authoritative position, but I think that what people are expecting from Josh is for him to stay the same. I think that's but while still running the biggest entertainment company in the world, I think that's the thing that he has to balance here. But if he shows any deviation and now it comes off as being too high and mighty on his horse, I think that'd be a really, I think that would be a real big disappointment for the Disney fans because he is the man of the people, if you will.
He also seems very aware of his image. So I feel like that's something like if that's your strong suit, what got you this job, I feel like there's going to be a lot of effort into maintaining that, at least trying to on some, because his PR, by the way, seems to be much better than Iger's. I will say the way they present Josh, like, and I did talk to somebody at one point that was on DeMaro's PR team, and they were smart. So I mean, maybe he's got the PR side down, and maybe Disney, like Jay's talked about before, maybe Disney's PR improves, because that is one easy area you can improve upon, is just making your PR at least make sense of when you announce these things. Like Disney will be like, they'll, price hikes today, or they'll do something good news in the next day. It's like, by the way, we're jacking up prices 15%. You're like, what the hell? Why would you not like give the bad news first and the good news? Like it just seems like just elementary things they just don't do.
Guest tragically dies on ride, next day price hikes.
Yeah. No, exactly. But here's the thing, and this is where the social intelligence comes in, right?
Right.
The PR, there's less weight on the PR team when your CEO kind of knows how to navigate socially.
Yes.
That's a good point.
And he knows how to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Iger, you know what's funny about Iger? He always has struck me, might be more savvy than Chapek, but like he just seems like he would be a very awkward guy at a dinner party. I don't know. Maybe it's just reading into it too much. He never seemed like a person that's just comfortable being around a whole lot of people and just kind of mingling.
Well, you can tell.
Oh, go ahead.
By his body, you can tell by his body language. His hands are always by his side, or they're always like covering his chest in this kind of a way here, or he has his hands in his pocket. But Josh DeMaro, his hands are almost like always coming at you. Like he wants to touch you on the shoulder. He wants to kind of like how OG talks, man. His hands are always coming at you. You know what I mean? And what that shows is that it shows that Josh is willing to at least embrace what it is that you have to sell. Yeah. That he's open to what it is you're saying and your thoughts and your process. Bob is
to your point in that interview. This clip, this scene right here is a perfect thing. Like, look how they're standing.
Yes,
and I caught that during the interview. Josh was like sitting back in his chair, kind of seemed relaxed. Even this, he's got his hands in his pocket. And Bob the whole time was kind of fidgety. Like, and he's just not to get like, you can get into all the whole body language theory stuff. But when you do stuff like this, it kind of conveys like you're not confident. You're just sort of. He just seemed uncomfortable the entire interview. And even though there were tons of cuts in that interview, there was probably an hour or more of footage in that 8-minute clip than what they put in that interview.
100%. Kiki and Luca, I want OG to touch me. Hey, you know what? But you got to buy me dinner first, Kiki and Luca. You got to romance me a little bit.
It's got to be a good dinner too. You can't go like McDonald's here. You got to
no,
take
like
it to a Korean barbecue place or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. But Nathan here brings up a great point, and I was actually going to say this, but Nathan says Iger seems like a guy who only mingles with his tax bracket. So I think if you're like Meryl Streep, or like if you're like another millionaire, I think that's his thing and that's his element. If you're like a blue collar like guy or something, like he's awkward. I think he needs to be
if
with.
He shakes your hand, your blue car. He's got an assistant with like a hand sanitizer really quick. It's like ew, gross. But no, that's a good point. I mean, he definitely, whether that's fair or not, that's the image I think Bob gives off versus. Like guys like Josh are out there where they're not. It's interesting. It's like they're not trying to act like they're blue collar, but they can connect with those type of people, even though they're not. Like a lot of people try and mimic, and you'll see this because I'm from the Midwest. People come in, all of a sudden you got like a Southern accent. You're trying. I'm one of you, and you can pick on that up immediately. Like rednecks. I've always said rednecks are like the Navy SEALs of the Midwest. Like they can fix anything. You put them in the woods for 3 months, and they'll survive, and they'll be fine. But like they can tell really quickly if you're being fake. So he never comes across as like he's being fake to try and win you over. He's just himself, but he seems comfortable. And I think that kind of comes across. And Kiki's right. I was going to point that out. Josh is known for his zip ups, but they both dressed very similar in this interview.
Well, even the guy interviewing is wearing the same outfit.
I think he thought it was like, they both got it. Let me get my suit too. Like they all just kind of coordinated this whole thing. It was
no. What happened was Bob said you're going to wear this, and he handed him the suit on a coat hanger, and you're going to wear this, and we're all going to look like me.
Probably. I would not be shocked. Although it would have been funny if they all had on like their cardigans and their white sneakers. That is all wearing the Bob outfit or something. But
Bob probably called these two guys on three-way the other night and is like, "Are we still doing it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're still doing it."
Yeah.
I was like, "Fine, just do it." Oh man. Well, you guys got any closing thoughts on this? We'll get to some comments in the chat before we move on to Universal. But anything else you want to add about the whole CEO situation?
No, not on mine. How about you, Jose?
Best of luck to Josh and Dana. Personally, I think that the company is in relatively good hands. I'm cautiously optimistic. I've been rooting for Josh from the beginning. I said that he was going to get selected as the CEO a long time ago. But he played the game really well. And I think this is something that as we learn his strategy, because now we see what his strategy is at a very high level. I think that it's going to be a very interesting time to be a Disney fan, good, bad, or in between. I think that the next couple of years should be fascinating.
So, Jose, what you're saying is the people movers coming back.
The people mover.
He should. That would be funny if he did. That would be a good one. Oh man! All right, let's kind of talk some of the comments here. By the way, thank you guys for being here. You guys are being very active. Appreciate that. Jay Shear, structuring this to make shareholder meetings boring would be a great move. Does it mean that's boring? Looks like they're doing that. Then Josh. Oh, okay. Then Josh can come in front and center doing his own announcements. I will say, I feel like Josh will make those more entertaining because Bob and those I watch and listen to those quarterly earnings reports. They are. Good Lord. If you want to go to bed at night, just put that on in the background. You'll be out in like 5 minutes. Like Bob always just seems like he's just, the Walt Disney Company had a really great quarter. He's like drinking coffee, doing 9 other things while he's doing it. Where, making those more entertaining would be.
I want to say, I think that Jay's being serious actually, because why shouldn't Josh, a man of the people, person that's up front and center, connect with his fans, connect with the audience, as opposed to doing board meetings? That's a huge Johnson. I mean, let Hugh do that shit.
I agree.
Because if anything goes bad, I mean, if he says something that the board doesn't like, or if he makes the mention that they're down 35% in entertainment for the quarter, that is gonna be perceived as a Josh problem. So instead of Josh saying it, let Hugh say it, let him be the bad guy, and let Josh be the good guy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
True.
Very good
but
point.
every time I hear the name Hugh Johnson, I think of the bartender on The Simpsons. Is there a Hugh Johnson here? Johnson?
Although it's gonna be interesting, they're going to do dynamic pricing on the tickets for the theme parks. It's gonna be interesting how Josh plays that, because I don't think that's gonna go over very well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
I've kind of assumed that might get implemented before Josh takes over. I don't think that's going to happen. That'll be interesting how the messaging is about that, or if that coincides with maybe bumping up some of those perks a lot. Like I could see something like that to try and lessen that blow a little bit, but they're definitely going to do it. Hugh Johnson basically said they're doing it sometime this year. Wow. So we'll see how that goes. Nathan M. Corpus says, restore Figment, anyone? I mean,
hey,
definitely could do that. Fix the Yeti, says Lovelow 8780. I mean, there's a lot of things he could do to do some easy wins in the. I wouldn't say the Yeti's not an easy win necessarily, but you could do it. Let's see here.
We can get celebrity Imagineer Joe Rohde to help us out with that one.
I mean, you definitely could, undoubtedly. Let's see. Robert Colton says, how about we greenlight some better quick service food at Disney World and bring it up to Disneyland standards? I mean, you could do some stuff there, undoubtedly.
Absolutely.
Jay also says, I can still contend the Bob Chapek era was purely a Bob Iger play, not to be the bad guy / conspiracy. I don't disagree. I think as time has gone on, that seems a very plausible scenario that kind of took place.
Yeah, and it's funny. I kind of poo-pooed that notion a little bit at the time, but the more, like you were saying, the more time that has gone on, it kind of seems that way. And actually, the more time that has gone on, I feel like I've learned more about Bob Iger that I don't like. I like him less now than I did 7-8 years ago.
And let's not forget, he left right before COVID hit, so he knew something was coming. And it just seems like he didn't want to be at the helm whenever there was going to be this massive reaction to this. And then whenever things were kind of settling back in, it's like, well, I would like my job back now, actually, please. Thank you. Like, it kind of just seemed like he wanted to avoid the bad press that might have come along with that. And really, I mean, maybe he was in a situation where he's like, I don't know what to do. And so he just was like, well, it's your problem, Bob. And then just like, armchair quarterbacking it from the side as he's doing different things.
Well, and add to both of your points, he was the chairman, so he was over the board, he was over the CEO. So anything that happened had to get approved by Bob Iger. And so everything that Bob Chapek did was approved by Bob and wasn't reversed when he took over. So, I mean, case in point, there you go.
The only thing Bob Iger reversed was charging for parking at the Disney World resorts. That's it.
Yeah, that was one of his first orders of business, and everybody forgot about it in 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah. And one thing too is it doesn't really matter how successful you are. When the Bob Chapek thing for me was an integrity problem, a character problem. That wasn't like, that was dirty. And that really, looking back on that, I mean, that just really kind of tells you like the mindset. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like that. To me, that was probably the worst thing Bob Iger did. Because that throwing the keys to Chapek, oh, okay, the pandemic's gonna start. Here you go, Bob. He didn't have any regard for Disney as a company. It was about saving his legacy, which I just don't like that. I mean, come on. I get it. He has to look out for himself too, but it seemed like it was all about himself and he didn't really care the ramifications, and I don't know. That's just that's the perception. And maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know, but that's how it looks from the outside looking in. So.
I don't disagree. I don't at all. Like I said, I think he's using a lot of his platform to better himself and not as much necessarily being like what's best for the company, but what's best for Bob. And, I think you do enough of those, it starts kind of showing on stuff.
Absolutely.
Sean, how do you say this? Sean Norani says the problem is that a ton of original stuff comes out and nobody goes to see them, but a trusted IP makes a ton of money. They're going to do more sequels.
Sure.
I think you can do both. But it's also how you sell original stuff. It seems to me that Disney's original stuff, they don't have confidence in it, so they don't want to spend a ton of money on it. And so that'll be interesting to see how that's approached because you can only do so many sequels of this stuff. I mean, Toy Story 10 is not going to hit like Toy Story 3. Like you have to have some new stuff at some point before you just keep going down the sequel path. But
I just want to point out that the problem is not original stuff. The problem is Disney has created a consumer environment where people only want to watch movies about characters that they're familiar with. And so if you keep that feedback loop active, then you're always going to have to create sequels because that's the only thing your consumers are going to watch because that's what you've trained them to do.
Yeah.
So it's not the originality that's the issue. The problem is Disney has backed themselves in a corner and now they have to dig themselves out of this. What that strategy looks like, how it's going to be executed, that has to be seen. But this is going to be a multi-year process.
Oh, if not a whole decade.
If not a whole decade.
How long it takes to make movies and stuff. I mean, it's going to be a long-term effort they're going to have to do. OG or Jose, would you care? I'm going to tell my kids goodnight real quick and then we'll, if you can catch it, and then I'll be right back.
Sounds like a plan. I wanted to bring this up, Jose, while we wait for Jared. Rogue Attraction here says, looks like the Muppets got confirmed for a full season. I did not see that, Rogue, but I love that because we heard that they were going to do this one episode with Sabrina Carpenter. They were going to see how that goes, and that would kind of determine whether or not they were going to move forward with more episodes. It's good to hear that it looks like we got a full season. The Muppets are back, baby. And that's the thing. I mean, the Muppets have been getting a lot of love. I know that the fans were upset about Muppet 3D, and I totally understand that. But you're getting the Muppets in Rock and Roller Coaster, an actual attraction, by the way. It's not a 3D thing. This is an actual ride that the Muppets will be inside. We're probably going to get Muppet Vision with the Apple Pro headsets. Even Seymour Duck was saying that maybe there'll be a spot like in Fortnite to be able to watch that and things like that. I think that's kind of the direction they're going to use to have that show live on. But I mean, it seems like they're really bullish lately, Jose, on the Muppets, and I kind of love it. I love the Muppets. I hope they catch on. Hopefully, Gen Z embraces these characters. So, I don't know. We'll see. What do you think about it?
I'm not really a Muppets guy anymore. However, when I was a kid, I used to love the Muppets. I can see the appeal, especially for younger children. It's one of those intellectual properties that adds a lot of dynamism to the IP selection that's available at the Walt Disney Company. Otherwise, it's very Walt Disney stylized intellectual property as opposed to Jim Henson, which is radically different from what Walt Disney typically cooks up. So, it's another tool in the toolbox for the company. Maybe the merchandise sales, I don't know. Rogue's in the parks a lot more than I am, and maybe he is a better gauge as to how Muppets pushes merchandise. Rogue, if you want to chime in the comments, let me know. But obviously, there's dollar signs. I mean, they brought back the show. I think wasn't the show originally canceled after one season?
Yeah, I mean, Disney has tried in the past a few times to kind of get interest back in the Muppets. They even did like an Office style Muppet show a few years ago, and that kind of bombed. But yeah, they've tried. They have made attempts in the past, and we'll see. But this show is different because I think it's smart because they're utilizing a lot of these big names. I mean, you can't get bigger than Sabrina Carpenter right now. Yeah. I mean, and if you bring in some other big names for some of these future episodes, and that's the beauty of the Muppet Show, is it's a variety show, and you bring in celebrities. You can bring in whoever the hot talent is at the moment, bring them in, and you're guaranteed eyeballs. So do Taylor Swift. I mean,
and that's probably the ingredient that the Muppets needs to be successful, because it's a legacy IP. I mean, that was around for Gen Xers, Gen Y. People that watch the Muppets were born in like the 70s and the 80s, right? But that generation is not going to be around to watch the Muppets as they get older. They're going to hit 15, 16 years old, and by then they're going to move on. So how do you bridge that gap between the generation that used to watch the Muppets? You introduce celebrities like Sabrina Carpenter, because like you said, it's a variety show, which again, a variety show is a syndicated TV concept right there along with the Muppets. So, it has a niche audience. I mean, obviously it was popular enough for them to, green light a roller coaster retheme to it. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see. I'm kind of glad that it's sticking around in the parks. I think that the Muppets being in Hollywood, it belongs in Hollywood because Hollywood transcends a certain era, right? Like if we're talking about Hollywood studios, we're talking about the entire spectrum of movies. And I think that was one of old Hollywood studios' strong points, is like you had everything from the 20s all the way in today. And so if you're going to celebrate all times and spaces of Hollywood, then it's important that you recognize that you maintain a lot of that legacy stuff and then blend it in with the new stuff, because Hollywood is the past and it is ongoing into the future.
Now, can you imagine? And they probably would never do this because Muppets, I don't know, this particular IP, they might not want to do this. But could you imagine how crazy a Muppet bar would be? I mean, it would print money, man. I mean, that would be incredible. You could have Animal behind the counter serving drink, like animatronic, dude, it would be amazing. It'd be absolutely amazing. You could have the two critics up in the rafters talking shit to everybody down below. It'd be funny.
Oh man. Yeah. It'd be printing money, man. I would love that. I would probably love that more than all the other bar ideas that they have combined.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I think it'd be great, but we'll kind of see. But overall, I think that overall, I'm excited about this new era at Disney. I'm ready to move on from the Iger era. I'm ready to see what Josh and Dana have. They're younger. They're coming at this with fresh eyes. Let's go, baby. Let's do this.
And what I love about Josh is that he's open to technological advancements and how to integrate it into the company. He's very open. You can tell that he is very much. Now I don't want to say in touch with his man's masculine side. He does have a good jaw, by the way. I mean, that guy has an incredible jaw, right? I mean, yeah, incredible. But
absolutely,
that guy, he is on the foot. He's on the ground working with Imagineers who are nerds about how to integrate technology into not just the theme park side, but into the studio side as well. Because I mean, hey, look, for example, right? The what's it called? The screen technology that they use for Mandalorian season 1 and 2.
Oh, the Void, I think it's called.
The Void. Thank you.
Or not the Void. Is it the Void? Oh, now I totally forgot.
Whatever it's called. It's obsolete. It's obsolete already.
Oh shit.
It's already obsolete. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Oh, the volume.
The volume. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Rogue.
Thank you. Thank you, Rogue.
Rogue's got her backs. Rogue's got her
Oh
backs.
yeah, absolutely.
But it's an obsolete special effects technology already, and it's only like 5 years old. And had, you know, if you don't have a CEO that knows these things, that is looking for cutting edge tech the way that Walt did, right? Walt was a tech nerd at the time, but you know, you need that this day and age. I think Bob Iger didn't even know that video games were relevant. I think I heard him say in either an interview, he obviously didn't say in a conference call or an earnings call, but he didn't know how just how big it was. And it wasn't until like he started having conversations with Josh, and he was like, they're like, yeah, like video games is a big thing. Did you know that?
Yeah, exactly. And Fortnite is like the biggest thing. And that was one of the things Josh D'Amaro said in a recent interview when they asked him, like, what's the future? What do you perceive the future of Disney? You know, and one of the big elements of this company that he foresees is gaming, you know, Fortnite. Everyone's on Fortnite, you know, including our good friend, Mr. Webba. We're actually going to do a Fortnite like play and chat kind of stream. It'd be kind of fun. I'm not a gamer anymore. I haven't gamed since like the Super Nintendo. How about you? Are you into it right now?
No, I haven't gamed probably since Super Nintendo, or maybe I played some Guitar Hero, you know, back in like the mid 2000s. Actually, I confess, I played a lot of Guitar Hero back in the mid 2000s. I found it to be incredibly fun. I think that the challenge of being able to hit every button like extreme level, it was both insanely frustrating, but very addictive at the same time. So, but no, I've given it up. Thankfully, I am now 15 years cold turkey on Guitar Hero. So it's been nice being clean.
Dude, my brother and I, we was like one Christmas, we were in our 20s, and we went to the mall to go Christmas shopping. We had friends with us, and we wanted Guitar Hero, but we were broke. So we convinced everybody to pitch in for this, knowing that they probably never played again because we had it at our house. And so we had everybody pitch in. I think we all played it like 3 times. I don't think we ever touched it again.
That's wild. That's wild. Oh, Jared, real quick, I brought this comment up from Kiki and Luca. I think this is interesting, right? Do you guys think there would have been more benefit and change if they got someone outside the company?
That's what I was wanting the whole time. I think it would have been really good for the company to get fresh blood, a new perspective.
Yeah. I
wonder now, Hugh Johnston said they interviewed like 100 and some odd candidates, if not 200 candidates at one point, and Josh beat out all of them. Mm-hmm. I do wonder on some level if they approached some of these CEOs and they were just like, no, thanks. Like Disney's in an interesting spot. Like they're not, again, I'm not saying they're going out of business, but like they got a lot of battles on all their fronts. I mean, the theme parks, you got Universal doing stuff, movies. I mean, that's that's contracting. You got the streaming side. So like, there's not a lot of areas about Disney that are just these easy thing to walk into. And I think a lot of guys may not want to come in right after Bob Iger either. Right, and so that's maybe why internally they went with Josh. And, I think it would have been good outside candidate, but obviously they either couldn't get him or they decided not to go that way.
I mean, technically, like kind of Dana Walden's outside candidate. Like she's only been there for a few years. I mean, technically, if they would have brought Tom Staggs back, he technically, I guess, would have been outside. But yeah, I would have liked to seen. I mean, look, Michael Eisner and Frank Wells. I mean, Eisner came from Paramount. Frank Wells came from, Warner Brothers. Yep. Sometimes it's good to get like outside of that Disney bubble. Bob Chapek was a Disney company lifer. He was there for like 25 years when he became CEO. And we all know how that turned out,
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
that clip is bliss.
I just imagine there was just somebody on the side of the camera like, you say it right now. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll say it. Leave me alone. Yeah.
I don't think the company would have been as successful if they got an outsider, simply for the fact that this is a multi-conglomerate, which is substantially larger than a lot of other companies. And I mean, the amount of things that person would have had to have learned in order to be a CEO would not have, I don't think that they would have been able to learn it fast enough and deep enough to be able to outpace and outthink and outmaneuver Josh D'Amaro. I mean, we have conversations about whether or not Josh D'Amaro, who has been with the company for 28 years, knows enough about the film side to be a comprehensive CEO and vice versa. much less somebody that has no experience in the company. I just don't see that as, I just don't see an outsider as being feasible. Now I can see an outside consultant. I can see an outsider coming in and being, central to the marketing and PR strategy of the company. Obviously worked with Hugh Johnson, but that's finances, right?
Yeah.
But a CEO,
Did they bring in a guy for the finance end of things?
Hugh Johnson, yeah.
But they
came
announced
from
another
Pepsi.
guy they hired at the same.
Gorman. He's the guy who headed the Succession.
No, there was somebody. There was somebody else they named. It was like that was going to handle like acquisition stuff.
Oh, okay.
They named it the same day as Josh. I kind of went under the headlines, but that could be another thing they ran into there. I mean, you got to think too. Disney now, the way they're set up is much different than when Eisner came in. Like
Sure.
It's way more complicated. You got all these different things now, so it is a big thing to walk into if you're not familiar with it for sure.
I agree. I agree. It's going that company 5x.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Now, real quick, before I know we've been holding off on the Universal stuff, but real quick, James All Day here says, "What are the chances of Peltz coming back?" Here's the thing: Peltz made a comment the other day that I have to push back on. Look, and I haven't been like super positive about Bob Iger this entire time, but here's one thing that I vehemently disagree with Peltz. Peltz is claiming that they chose D'Amaro, who has really no studio experience, to justify Bob Iger sticking around. Now, I would actually sign on to that theory if they didn't promote Dana Walden. I think that you cut into that theory big time when you add Dana into that equation. It's a little harder for him to justify that decision of lingering for the studio when you have Dana, who's number 2, who's So I think Peltz is like looking for stuff to
Yeah, Peltz, he had some points, but I think he also just hates Bob Iger.
Yeah.
He's just like, I think he wakes up every day being like, I hate that guy. I think this go around with Gorman, I think it's a much different situation. I have a feeling he has a full handle on all this stuff, and even Bob Iger maybe of handling him as he's exiting, because they have to know that that's something that people are immediately going to be. And I saw a bunch of videos today, people saying, "Oh, Bob Iger will be back in 2 years." But I don't think from Iger's body language and what he's saying, he just seems tired. I just don't think it'll happen, and I think it would be a horrible look for Disney. Let's say 2 years go by, Iger's going to be almost mid 70s, maybe 76 years old, and you're going to bring him back as CEO. Like, that's not going to be a long-term strategy. Having Bob Iger in there with his 80-year-old walker going to meetings, being like, "Well, I'll come to the Disney." It's not going to work. Like, it's just not a good look.
80-year-old with a walker and crispy white shoes.
Just crispy white shoes.
But look, ask yourself this simple question. I mean, I feel like you can resolve this question pretty easily. Has Josh grown experiences?
Yeah.
Josh he's grown experiences exponentially. Is he a growth guy then? I'll say he's a Parks growth guy. Parks is 80% of the company. I think they're fine. I don't think that Josh is going to have any problem demonstrating that he can grow the entire company. He's already grown 80% of it. What's the other 20%?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm open to pushback on that, by the way.
Well, it's like the parks have grown financially, not, I would say, and we've talked about this before, like the attendance, but that is not as much of what they've concerned about. I do wonder if they try to have more of a push on attendance in the parks and maybe having more, not just raising prices, but offering more value on things. But undoubtedly, I mean, the parks division has made way more money in the past 5 years than they've made previously. I mean, they hit $10 billion in the experiences division this past quarter. So
yeah,
we got a 10 here from Hidden Geek Village. Says OG55 theme park conductor, Capture the Magic, and Bricky live at the same time. I have everyone up on my monitors. Thank you all. I love this community. Oh, is
Absolutely.
Conductor live with Bricky right now too? Or is that the replay?
I don't think he's live with him. They're doing separate streams. Bricky's live, Conductor's live on his thing, and then we're live.
Cool.
But I really want to get I want to get Bricky on a theme park episode. We'll try to make that happen because he's great. I love kind of picking his brain on stuff,
Yeah, he seems. I watched some of that live stream. I'm aware of. So I haven't watched a ton of his videos, but he's very passionate, and I do like how he's willing to call things as he sees them, and I do appreciate that. So whether you agree with him or not, he's willing to be critical of things and praise certain things, and he has an idea of what he thinks they should do. And I appreciate that. I always like when people look at he takes that Imagineering perspective on stuff, which I typically don't do very much. So I always appreciate when people kind of have that sort of like, here's what would fit here. And I'm like, oh, that would work. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not
yeah, he's great because like there's stuff that he notices from that architectural standpoint.
Yeah.
Where like I would walk right by that and would never notice that.
Same,
but he's
yeah.
got that. Yeah, he's got the eye for it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I never noticed that.
Meanwhile,
Awesome.
I like to look at Bob Iger in interviews and be like, he looks like he's unconfident, and just read into everything. That's why I like language. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about Universal. I'm gonna bring up an article here. I know the number. I'm trying to see if I can find the one.
While you're putting that up, Sean here says Bob Iger should take up tap dancing. It's worked wonders for Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
It's a very good point. It is a very good point.
Shout out to Dick Van Dyke. What a treasure. I love that man.
Yeah.
Dude, you know, by the way, another person that's up there in age and they look great is William Shatner. He's
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
94. He looks phenomenal.
He does.
Man, whatever that guy's doing, just do that. But all right, well, we talk about Disney. On the flip side of that, Universal had a very good fourth quarter as they raised their theme park revenue by 22%. And if you included after the EBITDA, it was 24%. They credit it to Epic Universe. They hit their first $1 billion quarter off the heels of it. They said there's more consumer spending. And now I think the thing that has to be encouraging about all of this is they talked about how they're still not at full capacity at this park. They're looking to, I think they said their goal was by the end of 2026 to be at full capacity or close to it. But you already hit $1 billion quarter, which is the first time they've ever done that. Your park is not even where it's going to be in the year or 2 or 3 years, and they're adding things to it. I think if you're Universal, you got to be very, very happy about how Epic's performed. This has been 3 straight quarters of the first 2 quarters were really close to 20% growth in revenue. This one went over 20%. I mean, it's really at this point, it's hard to argue that Epic has not been a very successful thing for Universal that's only going to continue to help them grow into the future.
Yeah, no, it's been a home run hit. It's been a home run hit. And especially, I mean, I've always said like the hardest part about all of this is just getting the thing built. After they get it built, 100%. It's only you can only really go up from there because now you can start adding, now you can start plussing, you can start enhancing. I mean, we saw it out here in California. Just getting DCA built was the biggest hurdle. Now that it was built and put there, now we can go in there. We can add Buena Vista Street. We can do World of Color. We can do Pandora, Cars Line. You can start to add. So Universal will invest in this park for years and decades to come. And it's all, like you were saying, Jared, it's only going to get better, right? It's only going to, I mean, so yeah, for it to be the first year, we're barely coming up on a year. And these are the kind of results we're seeing. It's a huge win for Universal. And Universal, man, I haven't been to Epic Universe, but I've been going here in Hollywood a lot. It was like the year of Universal for me. I got the pass. I've been going like almost every weekend, hanging out with Theme Park Wizard. It's been great. but like they have really just, there's an energy around these parks with Universal right now. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, Universal bet big and they won big. I think this is tremendous for the company. $1 billion first time for the quarter. That's a record breaker, and for a park that's not even at full capacity. What this tells me is, and if I'm Universal management, if I'm Woodbury, I'm looking at this. I'm saying, guys, this is phenomenal because we don't have to rush our growth. We can take our time expanding the parks. We can take our time with investments. This is, instead of turning into a 5-year game, this is now a 10-year game at 22% growth. They can take their time with choosing the IPs, where they put them. Now they can spread investments over quarters or out over years, as opposed to one fiscal year. They can slow down park investments. CapEx can be spread thin. That's how I'm looking at the numbers. If I'm looking at this right here, I think this is phenomenal. This is more of a long-term. I mean, this is already like a long-term growth project, but now they can like really take their sweet time with expanding Epic Universe and the other parks as well, for that matter.
I don't know if they will. I mean, obviously they got the stuff going on with the new coaster, Pokemon. Well, it's not confirmed, but you know, something's going in the Lost Continent. They got the expansion to Ministry of Magic. That is a good point though, about maybe they do feel like they can slow down a bit because they even said in the earnings call that the performance of Epic has given them more confidence to invest more into the parks, which we've talked about where Comcast is with their linear assets and with the the mobile and the internet stuff. They're trying to pivot more into the theme park. So this has to be encouraging to see, your first $1 billion quarter that you can really start turning yourself into more of a theme park company, very similar to Disney. I mean, Disney essentially is a theme park, at least in my eyes, is a theme park company that also makes movies and entertainment at this point, because the majority of that money is coming in from theme parks now. And so I think Universal getting a slice of that. And I've even seen it. I've talked to this before. I know a couple of owners of travel agencies, and one's our sponsor, and a couple of them are people I just know. And they're Disney centric historically. And they were saying this past year, they saw so many more people that their clients had gone to Disney were going full weeks at Universal and not really splitting as much time. And even we just had our Club 32 meetup. And for the most part, our show started out as a Disney show that we now do Universal stuff. But there was like 4 people that were like, hey, we should do one at Epic. I want to go to do a meetup at Epic. And so you're seeing a lot of people. I think you're going to have them go to Disney and to Universal. And that's only going to continue to grow in that, where they're going to become both places where people are going to hit both spots. And, Universal doesn't. Now, they have said that they want to be the first choice. They have made no qualms about that. They may never get there, but I don't think they have to make money to be profitable. I think they're probably heading toward being co-leaders. I think once you're at 35% of market share, you're considered a co-leader in your industry. I think they're well on their way to doing that. And if you look at the growth here at 22%, Disney had 6%. They're eating into market share, which Woodbury even said back in August that they were already seeing a shift in market share. So they're already seeing that positive, and they're on a long-term plan here. Like they're trying to, people that talk about Epic were going to, be a Disney killer. This wasn't going to be in a year. This wasn't even about the opening year of Epic. This was about a 10, 20-year plan. And I do know people inside Universal even said as much. There's like, even if they didn't have this performance they were having from it, this whole thing was a plan that they were going to execute over decades and not just looking at like a year-by-year basis.
Well said. Now, Kiki and Luca here says the problem is Universal Hollywood is limited in space. Disneyland may eventually have 3 parks. Tokyo has 2 parks, and Universal Osaka only has 1. Yeah, I think that is probably the biggest problem with Universal Hollywood is that limitation in space. When you have a potentially 3-park resort at Disneyland, what is Universal going to do? Now, what I've suggested for years is continue to invest in Universal Hollywood, but Universal should really look at some land, maybe somewhere else. I don't know, like in Santa Clarita Valley, Santa Clarita or something, or where you can buy a lot of land and build like an Epic Universe style like park with like a resort. You can build it away from Hollywood.
I was going to ask you that question. Is that a feasible thing they can do out there?
Yeah, because there's a lot of areas in California that like even Disney just built that Cochina Disney Living thing. Yeah, and that there's like land for days out there. Like Universal could theoretically find some land out here in Cali and go ahead and build like a big resort. It wouldn't be connected to the Universal Hollywood property, but I don't think that it needs to be. But I think that would be the move, because you're never going to get 2 parks on that Hollywood property. It's never going to happen. It's way too tight over there.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily think that they're going to take that approach, simply for the fact that land in California is extremely expensive. And then secondly, they can build another park in another country with currency exchange being a lot more affordable, and they would expand their international presence, which is still on the short end when compared to Disney. And if we're talking about expanding rapidly and doing it as cost effectively as possible, I would be looking to build a Universal park in another part of either Southeast Asia. I mean, obviously Japan's on lock, but maybe they'd be looking at, well, didn't they say they were going to build a park in the Middle East? Wasn't that a confirmed announcement?
I believe it was.
I don't.
Were they talking?
I know they were talking. I don't know I don't think it was confirmed 100%. I'm pretty sure they were talking about it, but I would imagine it's got to be something they're going to do, because if they're offering that deal to Disney, I'm sure they're going to do the same thing, because they're trying to get all these American companies to basically go in there and use their IPs to bring in more tourism.
One thing I am worried about though for Universal right now is that Halloween, the Horror Unleashed in Vegas, because I've heard it's not pulling numbers right now.
I had questions about that when it was announced, about a year-round thing like that. Like that, you're going to have to freshen that thing up quite a bit. And really, Vegas, and we talked about it on a video on your channel, OG. Like Vegas is not in a good spot. Hasn't been for a little bit. And although I will say there are some indicators that the economy is kind of starting to turn back around a little bit. I do think if the economy starts really ramping up, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, the Universal and Disney, maybe even Vegas, gets solved if people have more discretionary income in the short term and where that heads. But yeah, I mean, I think there's questions around that. And I think the kids resort will be a big hit. That's opening this year in Texas. And I think you're going to see more of those. So I've always wondered now, I had that brought up, the 2010 countdown. Is it feasible in Hollywood that they kind of get rid of some of the studio space to make room for more theme park space?
They are doing that right now. They are kind of maneuvering things. They just bulldozed 6 Point Texas sets, and I think they're going to put some studio stuff in there, like facilities or whatever, to kind of to be able to remove some other sound stages over there in the lower lot and things like that. So they're kind of doing the whole chess game thing. They're kind of trying to move their stuff around. So they can do that, and they will gain some land from doing that. But it's never going to be, it's never going to be a massive amount. And everything is filmed at Universal. I mean, it's kind of surprising. Like, I mean, Disney stuff, all the studios film over there, music videos, everything. And it's kind of crazy how active that lot is. They're never going to get rid of it. The studio end of it completely. So they're constantly having to kind of juggle and maneuver around all that stuff. So, which I love the studio stuff. I love the tram tour. I'm a nerd though. I love that stuff. That's what makes Universal Hollywood like such a gem, in my opinion.
Especially being out in Hollywood like that. Now, I will say they'll never match the music video that was filmed out in Universal Hollywood, which was the Creed music video where they flooded the streets there. You're never going to top that. I mean, do more of those. I mean, I think that was a, that's a classic there. Keegan Lucas says, is that Vegas thing worth it? I'm going to Vegas for work on the 26th.
I mean, I haven't been. I've heard people like our good friend Theme Park Wizard. He liked it. Tommy Toon.
Even Tommy liked it. They came on and talked about it after they went on my channel. Like they said they liked it, but if you're expecting Halloween Horror Nights, it's not quite the same thing as that. But it's kind of like an entry level, in my opinion, from what I haven't been either. But it seems like an entry level to Halloween Horror Nights to kind of introduce you into the concept a little bit.
Yeah, and they have they have like a restaurant in there and like a bar and stuff. So it's got a little bit of a different flavor, So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm curious about it. I just don't know. It's crazy because out here we have FanFest. They're going to do FanFest again for the second year, starting I believe in April, right? And they take the HHN kind of style with these mazes and turn them into nerdy mazes. So it's like Star Trek, D&D. And all that stuff. I don't know why they haven't converted Horrors Unleashed into something like that for the non-Halloween season. You can do why don't you put some of those FanFest mazes, convert the mazes in the Vegas thing into that kind of stuff. Right now, I don't know. That's what I would do. Because not everyone wants to do Halloween in March.
Well, and
I really don't want to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Well, and how the local haunts have adopted is they essentially adapt whatever holidays bookend Halloween, they celebrate those as well. And they retheme their local haunts to Christmas or Valentine's Day. I mean, I've seen them go as far as all the way until the middle of summer, and they're still retheming, what is it? St. Patrick's Day haunt and they just go on and on, but that's how they stay in business and that's how they stay lucrative. So I don't know why Universal didn't foresee that, considering there's so many, I don't want to say local, but like national local haunts that retheme their events as the holidays progress throughout the year. But yeah, they're going to have to adapt somewhere else. They're just going to have to close them down. I think FanFest is a really good idea.
I agree. And that was my whole question, was not during Halloween, but this time during February,
right?
Then this time, what's the demand going to be for a haunted house in Vegas in February and March? I just don't, unless you do the retheming, which I do think would be a good idea to do. But I actually wouldn't be shocked if they kind of back off those Horror Unleashed concepts a little bit and do more. Like, I think the kids park stuff will be a hit, depending on where they put those. But yeah, I always had some questions around that one. But Rogue Attraction made a good point about Vegas. Does Gen Z even gamble? They don't drink, so I don't think they gamble either, which is probably a big part of it.
Well, and the gambling stuff is getting kind of is different now because you can do this online.
You can do it anywhere. Yeah,
you
can.
You don't need to go to Vegas.
Do it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But you know, talking about Universal on this, like I think I do know now. What I'm curious about with Universal is how much headway they can really make on these wait times. When talking about Epic Universe in particular, because the last time I had a specific number was around August, September, and I know they said it was roughly 15 to 20,000 guests per day then. So maybe if the max capacity of this park is 40 to 50,000 guests, let's say maybe they've been at 50%. I don't know how much room. I mean, I don't know where the efficiency of these rides are. They're improving on that. I would be rather shocked if they were at full capacity by the end of the year without these wait times being just insane. Like I want to go back to Epic, but I don't want to go wait 3 hours to ride everything in there. But I do think a lot of people are checking it out. Plus you have park hopping now, so the dynamic's a bit different there. But I think you're more than likely in the short term going to continue to see them have, you know, they'll probably have another monster quarter in the first quarter because it's another quarter Epic on the books that wasn't previously. And then you'll probably see more like, you know, 8-10% growth. You'll still see growth, but it'll be slower than what you're seeing with these initial quarters with Epic's the first time it's been on the books for them. I think going forward. That's my question about how much do they think they can improve on this before they get more stuff open, I think is a question I would have about it.
Yeah, and this park will see a lot more competition down the road because Disney is doing Villains Land and Cars Land and all that stuff, and that's going to be, I think those things will be hits for Disney and stuff. So it's going to get more competitive. But right now, I mean, this is their time to shine, baby. Like, because you know, Disney World's a construction site right now. Basically, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Animal Kingdom is.
I was there last Sunday. I mean, when Dinosaur was down for a lot of the morning because even though it's the last day it was open. There's nothing else to do in that park, really. Expedition Everest was also down, and basically it's a half day. It always, in my opinion, it's kind of been a half day park. So I think that park is really going to struggle in the next couple of years before they get this stuff open.
I have some opinions about Animal Kingdom. I really do, particularly when it comes to Avatar as a property as a whole. I think the Pandora, Avatar, whatever you want to call it, that IP has diminishing returns, substantial diminishing returns. When you look at the box office revenue of the first movie, then the second movie, and now the third movie, you're looking at a 50% drop in box office revenue from Avatar 1 to 3. And I think we're seeing that reflected in the park because when you look at the actual attraction numbers, Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom have the same amount of attractions. They have the same amount of shows virtually, give or take one or two. Animal Kingdom arguably is a bigger park. It's more aesthetic. There's more to see. The food is better. So it's like, well, what gives? Well, how come it's lagging so far behind? The problem is, of course, the Dinosaur Land is that is a problem in and of itself. But Avatar, just as a property, doesn't have the pull that Toy Story and Star Wars has. And as bad as a place that Star Wars fandom is, I still think it's performing better in terms of attraction pool than Avatar. And I mean, that's really unfortunate because I love Pandora as a land, but the interest is just not there. And until they bring in Encanto and Indiana Jones, you're just going to see, you're going to see Animal Kingdom's numbers dwindle even further over the next couple of years until 2027, until they get this thing up and running. So I hope Encanto has legs. Indiana Jones, listen, personally, I was with OG when I rode Indiana Jones for the first time, and you could ask him, man, I had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face because I was so enamored by that attraction and how good it is. A Tony Baxter masterpiece. So I'm really excited it's coming to the park.
Jared, I can't wait for you to ride this thing, bro. In those Jeeps, dun 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 dun. It's a whole nother level, bro. It's a whole nother level.
Well, it's 10 out of 10.
I was never a big fan of Dinosaur, even though it's the same ride track as Indiana Jones, because I just felt like you were in the dark and then a dinosaur yells at you at some point. I'm like, I just never, like, my wife really liked it, but I never was like a huge fan of it. But I agree with what you're saying about Pandora, because if you look at the box office too of Avatar, it's mostly overseas. So I don't think there's a lot of domestic demand inherently for it. And what's crazy is in 2019, Animal Kingdom was the #2 most visited park, and it has fallen off a cliff ever since then. And so, I mean, I think these things will help it undoubtedly. It's just, how much I think Encanto is one of those things, like it came out during COVID, so you don't really have the box office numbers. You have the Disney Plus stuff, but like I feel like the demand for Encanto is a little bit of it's kind of foggy there. Like I'm not really sure. You don't have anything real tangible to point to. And I haven't heard anything as sequel heavy as Disney is about like Encanto 2. Maybe they are doing it, but I haven't heard anything about it.
No.
So
well, that's one of those announcements that Josh is going to have to capitalize on because this is a 4-quadrant company. They are propping up a new ride based on Encanto. Josh, you have to announce an Encanto sequel to go in line with this film to generate excitement. And not only that, but it's also a litmus test too. Like if people are going to get excited about a new movie, then how do you think this is going to fare as a long-term investment in Animal Kingdom, which has struggled with park attendance? I mean, wow. I mean, really for a long time. I mean, Pandora gave it a boost, but without a significant nighttime offering like Fantasmic or Happily Ever After, this park is going to continue to struggle. If you're putting in unpopular Disney Plus IPs, and Indiana Jones, while it's popular with a certain demographic, it's not a widely popular IP anymore and arguably past its shelf life. As much as I love Indiana Jones, I'm just trying to be objective.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying for sure. I think the biggest home run they'll have is Villain's Land. I think that one has the most potential to be the most draw there. Everything else, I think, depends on the execution more. Go ahead.
You're right. But one of the worries I have with Villain's Land is they're going to run into the same mistakes they made with Batuu, where it's like this very dingy, kind of depressing atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fill that land with kinetic energy, because if you have that Villain's Land with the rock work and you don't have anything in it, it's Batuu.
Well, and I think I've said for a long time, they have a very narrow corridor to get Villain's Land because you can't make it too scary. Like they can't do Dark Universe like Universal can. And then you can't make it too scary for kids, but you got to make it interesting or scary enough for the adults. So they kind of have to thread that needle kind of perfectly about how they execute that. And I honestly wouldn't get married to the concept art. I think that land's going to look much different than what they propose. Because I saw those mountain ranges and I'm like, there's no way they're going to do all these mountain ranges around. Maybe they do, but I felt from the get-go that concept art, I was like, yeah, we'll see. Like, but I do think it'll be the last one to come online, but it might have the most impact on the overall like attendance and revenue.
Oh yeah, I mean the potential with that land is huge. I mean,
it is undoubtedly, yeah.
And it might change the game for Magic Kingdom for Halloween as well.
It really could. I think it would be an interesting thing about the Halloween party there and how much they incorporate with Villain's Land undoubtedly, and it'd probably be able to get you more people into the Halloween parties to sell more tickets too.
Yeah, even the Cars area, to be honest with you, because out here in California, the Cars Land gets all crazy during the holidays. So that potentially could be a huge hit for Magic Kingdom during the holidays as well.
I've actually wondered if that's one reason why they're expanding because you would think, like when they said Magic Kingdom expansion, but you're like, okay, it's the #1 theme park in the world. It's not necessarily like a capacity issue there, but I do wonder. They make a ton of money off those Halloween and Christmas parties. And if they're looking at saying, okay, whatever that number is, if you increase this footprint bigger, you can sell X amount more tickets and make X amount more money on top of lightning lanes and stuff like that. So that could be part of the reason as to why they're expanding it just off of those parties that they do.
Yeah. But, it's interesting. See what happens, with the whole Avatar thing. I'm starting to get a little worried about it, but we'll see. I just want that thing here so bad because I love that land. But
I kind of agree with Jose though. Like I wouldn't be shocked if that doesn't end up happening, especially with the performance. Like you're saying, it's making money, but not like it was. It's clearly on a downward trajectory. And if you're looking at it from that perspective, I could see how maybe Josh comes in and says, like, you know what? We put this in Shanghai, maybe somewhere else, and put something else in DC. I wouldn't be shocked by it. But Nathan Corpus says, I think Encanto topping the Billboard Hot 100, it showed its resonance. It's possible. Like I said, I'm not saying it won't work. I just don't really, it's hard to know really where it stands. Like it's just, there's really not a solid metric where you can just, like you can say with, say, Toy Story. Right. And things like that. It's just, it's kind of more of a feel there. I think it will be successful though. But Storybook Sorceress has a point. This is why they're putting Bluey experience in Animal Kingdom. That alone will bring people to the park.
Yeah.
I'm curious how much that. Now that's definitely going to help it.
Well, that's part of their 4-quadrant attack on Animal Kingdom, and Kiki and Luca wants me to explain it. So 4-quadrant, females and males under 25, and females and males over 25 essentially is what 4-quadrant is. And Disney is a perfect example of this because they're trying to create products and entertainment that appeals to everybody in those demographics. And by putting Bluey, again, that's under 25 for both males and females, and Encanto, again, and then Indiana Jones is going to appeal to that older demographic. My question to you guys though is like, I love Indiana Jones. Is Indiana Jones the best approach to handle the over 25 male audience for Animal Kingdom? Like, is that what you would have put in there?
Well, it's interesting because
putting the whip aside, putting the hat in the whip.
Yeah, it's interesting because that attraction, at least at Disneyland, right? And Disney and these parks are very opposite because Disneyland is like the most stacked park ever with like a bajillion things to do, and Animal Kingdom is the opposite, right? But at Disneyland, that ride is always gets numbers, despite the franchise's like waning success in the theaters. It hasn't impacted the attraction, so I'm assuming it'll still be a hit for Animal Kingdom. But again, at Disneyland, it's mixed in with like a million other things. At Animal Kingdom, it's limited.
More sense in Hollywood Studios. Like some of these things that they put, like the Moana walk through water thing. I don't know why that didn't go to Animal Kingdom.
That was weird.
Like some of this stuff is just like, it's not the attraction itself. It's kind of like where they put it.
Yeah.
And so I don't think Indiana Jones, like when they first said it, I was like, well, I mean, you can make an argument. He's an archaeologist and like, it'll probably get numbers because it's Indiana Jones, but I don't know necessarily Animal Kingdom is like the best spot for Indiana Jones, especially like right next to Encanto. Like that's kind of weird to me. Like you have this magical house that's doing all this stuff. Then you got Indiana Jones. You're just like, okay.
And that's where I think that's where like data sets, like demographics, visiting parks, maybe getting in the way of where they choose to put these attractions.
Totally.
And maybe that's something Josh gets back in line because that has been one thing a big complaint people have had is like the stuff and where it's going. It does like historically they wouldn't have put a lot of the things in there that they have in the last little bit.
I heard a rumor, and this could be totally wrong, but I heard a rumor a few years ago that Chapek actually wanted to put Cars Land, a clone of the DCA version, in Epcot.
Oh God.
And I was like, wow. Because here's the thing. I can see how they kind of finessed that into Magic Kingdom. But Epcot, dude, I mean, that's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, Epcot's like even Guardians in there, like you can make an argument for it. It doesn't necessarily fit perfect, but it's a great ride. People love it, so it's not a huge deal. But yeah, a replica of Cars Land in Epcot would be odd because like where would you put it?
Right.
Like
and
like I don't even know where. I mean, you're not going to fit at the America Pavilion. I don't even know where you would even remotely try and put that thing.
If they put a Cars Land in Epcot, just nuke the park. It's
nuke it. Like we're done
here. And start over. We're done.
What is this?
We're done here. But see, that's to your point, though, Jose. It's to your point. It's that spreadsheet, data-driven thing where Chapek was probably looking at the data, going, "Well, this park needs this demographic. Oh, Cars has that demographic. We'll just put that here." You know.
Yeah. Spreadsheet management 101. John MK iTrain, I agree with this. As a Mufasa ride with the hyenas at Animal Kingdom would be cool. The fact that they have not done a Lion King dedicated ride at Animal Kingdom blows my mind. You would to this day it would still be a hit. If you did a Lion King dark ride or anything, that thing would have lines bigger than Flight of Passage.
Well, think about, the Indiana Jones ride system, the dinosaur ride system, those could be safari Jeeps.
Yep.
You could ride through, that Pride Rock and all that stuff, and that big show building would be incredible.
And they did get James Earl Jones' voice for AI, so you could totally use it for Mufasa.
Yeah.
They use it for Vader. So I agree with
and they have the space.
Oh, they definitely have the space. Although I will say, I think it was Rogue Attraction said Animal Kingdom is insanely hot in the summer. That is the biggest complaint I have about that park in the summer. It is 10 degrees hotter there than anywhere else in Orlando. So in the middle of the summer, that park is miserable.
Is it the trees causing the air to get humid?
So they built it like in a bowl. So when you're in it, all that heat just sits on you, and then the trees, all that heat just kind of ends up, and all that humidity, it just kind of sits on you more in there than it does the other parks. Like I've park hopped, and you'll say like Epcot is not comfortable in the summer either. You're walking on World Showcase, like it's hot, but then you won't go to Animal Kingdom, and you're like, good night. Did they turn the heat up in it? Like it just feels 10 degrees warmer in Animal Kingdom all the time, except for Sunday, which was freezing, which was a weird dynamic. I've never been in that park and been freezing, but that was interesting.
Did you go on any coasters?
Okay.
Do what?
Do you go on any coasters?
Expedition was down. Cali River Rapids was down. Flight of Passage was down. Most of the rides in the park were down. Dinosaur was down. Like most of the stuff that was open, I think they reopened Expedition later in the day, but most of the stuff wasn't open. So people were just. I think I sent you guys in the group chat that shot of the Lightning Lane line was wrapping around into the main walkway for Dino Land. That was a Lightning Lane line. And the regular line was like a 300-minute wait or something like that. So like that's the issue with that park when stuff goes down or it's too cold. The waits for anything just skyrocket because of it.
Yeah.
But that would have hurt your face that day on a roller coaster with that wind and how cold it was. Oh man,
crazy. When I went to Animal Kingdom, it was end of July, early August, and it was crazy hot. It was wild.
And that's the thing. Animal Kingdom's actually a low key good food park, but when I'm hot and sweaty, I don't want to eat. So like when I'm in Animal Kingdom, I just don't. I'm like, I'm good. Like get me a coffee or something, like iced coffee, but I'm not in a mood to go around eating. And same thing with like Epcot during the summer when they had that period where they're doing like food and wine stretch into July. You know, like nothing better than hot cheddar soup when it's 98 degrees in Epcot. I'm just like, I don't want to eat. So like, I just want to like get into the AC somewhere. But yeah, well, in Storybook, I agree with this. She said, if it's hot, then copy the water attraction they're building in Paris. 100%.
Yeah.
Like more water rides in Animal Kingdom would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, considering Cali River Rapids is always down for refurbishment, it's down right now for refurbishment, I believe, right?
It is. And also that ride is just a copycat of like anything you've seen at like a general theme park. Like they had that exact same ride system at Silver Dollar City when I was growing up. Like there's nothing like unique about it.
No, they have one at Knott's Berry Farm and stuff too.
Yeah, the Congo River Rapids and Busch Gardens are vastly better than the Cali River Rapids. It's like a shortened version of an actual rapids ride.
Yeah, they had one in Silver Dollar City called the Lost River. That thing with you came out not a dry spot on you. The whole point of that thing was to get you absolutely soaked. It's that's in the summertime is definitely nice. And Nathan here says those pulled pork fries at Animal Kingdom, they are good.
That sounds good.
They are good. They used to have a pork belly mac and cheese that was really good. But again, hot foods in the summer, you're just like, I'm good. Like Animal Kingdom is great in the like this time of year. You don't have the humidity aspect of it, a lot better. But the park closes early.
Yeah,
so that's another issue with that park too.
One thing that was crazy about Animal Kingdom, though, dude, we were eating outside, and these birds are like pterodactyls, and they're coming at you.
Aggressive. Yeah, they're aggressive. Yeah,
like the ones with like the long necks. You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. They're like everywhere. It's crazy.
They also dive bomb you. We were walking through, and one just literally like dove bomb like 4 feet from my wife's face. Like they'll just swoop in and see food. Like they don't hit people, I don't think, for the most part. But yeah, they know where food is. They go get it. Undoubtedly.
That's funny.
Yeah, but
that's funny.
But well, I mean, I think that was a good Animal Kingdom discussion. I'm curious about. I'm really curious what the attendance is. This like when they get that report for the year with all this stuff down. I think it could be rough. I think they had I think they had a 19% drop off, or 35. No, it's 35% drop off the last couple of years. I think Animal Kingdom. That could get much worse.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But what did you say? Oh, Jose?
Oh no, I was say I agree. I think it's gonna be tough. I think once we get like Indiana Jones and Kanto, it'll start looking up. But in that meantime, Animal Kingdom's gonna struggle.
Well, yeah, and with the 35% drop off from the time, from the time that Pandora started seeing a drop in terms of the attendance it was able to achieve. So Kanto and Indiana Jones are not going to make up for that.
No, I agree. I don't think it's going to make up the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And Zootopia for that matter as well. So they're going to have to introduce something else to make up for that difference. And it might look, they might have to bring in some kind of nighttime entertainment. That might be the only thing that brings that attendance to, Epcot or Hollywood Studio levels. Cause right now,
Yeah. Well, that whole water theater is just sitting there. They've done some weird. They had that kite. Remember that kite show that they would
Yeah.
crash
Yeah.
into the stands? Like that was fun to watch just for the what's the kite's gonna do sort of thing. But they've never been able to pull one off there consistently. They had that big plan for the thing back in probably around 2016 that they never got it working, and they just ended up ditching it. So I don't know what the issues were with that one, but yeah, that was that was rough. And Rogue Attraction says it was pretty dead today. Flight of Passage was 40 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
You know,
crazy.
also, it might show them where they think Avatar is as a brand, considering they haven't added anything onto Pandora. Like
That's
you would
true.
assume with as much attendance growth that they got from it, that they have an expansion pad for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of interesting that and there's really been no rumblings about it that they were going to add anything to it. So I think if they don't put Pandora in DCA, I don't think you see any more Avatar in the parks, at least in the US.
I agree
Yeah,
with that.
I agree with
with that. Yeah.
Mhm.
The thing that worries me about the Pandora thing right now is not so much that we haven't heard details because Disney's notorious for hiding stuff. But like I'm just worried because they haven't really announced the closure of the Monsters Inc. thing. Where
Yeah.
initially they said it was going to be early 2026, and now it's like in flux.
Yeah.
And that worries me. And then now we're getting a new CEO. Is Josh as invested? Was that an Iger thing because of the Fox deal, or is
Good
it
point.
now?
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's
Very-
just, everything's
very
kind of in
good
flux.
point.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I would be putting it in Abu Dhabi. Like if I'm Josh and I'm looking at where the audience is, I'm putting that in Abu Dhabi and I'm letting morale pay for it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Rogue also says no Fire and Ash Spirit jersey was telling.
Yeah.
Well, there really was no cross promotion of that movie in the parks, from as much as I know. I don't think there was a big push.
Really?
I'm trying to remember it. There may have been a little bit Animal Kingdom, but it wasn't like a massive push for that movie by any means. But
Wow. That's surprising. I mean, when you consider how much they invested into the production of that film and they expect this to be like a big tent pole franchise, that's crazy.
yeah, I agree. I think, and like you're saying, if these new attractions don't bring it up a ton, like they're gonna have to. You're still going to need to add more stuff to this park anyways.
Yeah.
Eventually. So it's like, do they end up doing more right after they announce this stuff? That'll be kind of interesting how they do that. But so Rogue says there was a pin and a hat, and that was it. Yeah.
That tells you everything right there.
Gotta get those pins. But yeah, I mean, in terms of all this, like Animal Kingdom be interesting. Obviously, Universal. Not much else to say there other than they're going in a great direction. I think they're continuing to add stuff into the park. You got the new coaster. Supercharged is going to have something come there in 27. You got what I've been told, Pokemon coming, which, by the way, it's like the #1 media franchise in the world. Like that thing is so, I didn't realize how big it was.
Huge.
That thing, and I do think Disney's going to do video game stuff. Josh is going to spearhead that undoubtedly, but nothing is going to touch Nintendo and like Pokemon.
No.
And I think that is a problem for Disney. There's no answer for it. In terms of putting anything relevant like that, and just how big of a hit it could be for Universal. And then that's before you even get into maybe some of this, we talk about Back to the Future comings. Like they could do a lot of interesting things in Orlando and just continue to build on that momentum. So I think that'll be very interesting to say the least. Let's see here before we go ahead. Fort Misery Gaming. What's up, Fort Misery? He says, do you guys really think it's feasible that Epic can hit 50K guests with how bad the capacity is for most of the rides and struggle massively currently? I mean, it's a question I've had. I don't think so until they do it. You're probably looking at it until they get these expansions open.
Yeah.
Or adding, like, they still don't have the attractions or the storytellers that we're going to have in Celestial Park. But I don't know. I guess that if we'd be working on information we don't have, like where are these rides in terms of their capacity and operations and their efficiency? I think that would be a big question I would have. If they think that they're at like 50%, then maybe. But they need more rides like Monsters Unchained that move people through it quickly, that have demand, and eventually they will. But in the short term, I have my doubts. And then I also don't think you see APs for yet another probably year at least. I would be surprised if like 27 or past it. I mean, if they're making this much money already, they're not in any rush to do it.
Yeah.
No, why would they? Because APs just take up room in the walkways when that could be a paying customer.
Right.
Like a ticket, a day ticketer.
Yeah.
And they can't increase in capacity until they add a new ride anyways.
That's very true. That's
And
very
even
true.
then, they wouldn't increase capacity right away. They'd probably run it for 6 months to a year and then increase the capacity. So you might be looking at a late 2027 before capacity even gets increased.
Yeah.
Possible. Hey, give me 1 second. I got to do some Wi-Fi real quick. Give me one. I'll be right
No
back.
worries. No worries. And then I do want to Chad Lee brings up Andrew Platt. Andrew makes great content. I've seen a few of his videos. I like his stuff.
Who's
I
Andrew
think
Platt?
Andrew Platt is a content creator. He's on YouTube. He recently moved out to Florida and now
Okay.
he does content and stuff. He's great though. He's really, really cool. Everyone should check him out.
Is that Theme Park Obsession or is that another person?
No, that's a different person. That's Dylan.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Andrew
okay.
Platt. Andrew Platt's he's got oh man, he's I think his channel is just his name if I'm not mistaken. But let me see actually. I'll tell you right now. But he's great, dude. I've actually reacted to a few of his videos on my channel. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Andrew Platt.
I know who he is. Yeah. I watched
You've
a couple
seen
of his videos. Yeah.
Okay, you got him. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's cool. He's really cool. So he's fun. He's growing a lot, man. His channel is really blowing up. It's cool.
Yeah, he's at what is it, 18,000 subs? 18.9. He's about to hit 19,000.
Yeah. Now I think we're gonna wrap it up soon, Jose. But do you want to talk about your channel a little bit and what you do over there? I love the work that you do and kind of let everyone know like your perspective on the content that you do.
Yeah, we could talk about that real quickly here. So my channel is called Theme Park Philosophy. So essentially what I do is I look at theme parks, the companies that run them, the guest experience, how they organize through a philosophical lens and what they reveal about the human experience essentially. And so, for example, last video I did was on free will, and I've actually done 2 free will videos now. Both of them are focusing on whether we have free will in the parks. You know, there's a lot of talks about how companies manipulate you and how they manipulate you through all 5 senses and through architectural design, and they use like funneling methods and all the different modalities that companies use to influence your purchasing making decisions. And so we just wanted to take a philosophical look at that. So if you like those kinds of concepts, go check out my channel, Theme Park Philosophy. I've only got a couple of videos. The next one I'm going to do, I think is going to be really interesting. It's going to be on the Haunted Mansion and how the Haunted Mansion is like, it reveals humanities or humans, individuals, everyone that's mortal, essentially, particularly humans, though, being that we're the only ones that reflect on mortality. Maybe gorillas do too, but that's besides the point. But essentially, it's going to be on how the Haunted Mansion is like a safe window into our own mortality, and how how different cultures have structured the peering into our own mortality, and how we kind of subvert it in a way by playing with the idea in more of a in a way that kind of takes away its finitude, if you will, while maintaining the infinitude of it, right? So it's obviously a final thing, like once you die, but in a sense, right, like when you play with the idea of ghosts in the Haunted Mansion, there's something that has permanence forever and ever and ever. And we like to think of our ways as having permanence forever, ever and ever. But the Haunted Mansion does it in kind of like a playful way, but in a way that also reveals our connection to it, not just culturally, but through, spirituality and things like that. So that's going to be my next video. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go check out my channel, Theme Park Philosophy.
Yeah, no, I was just Jared, when you were gone, I was telling the audience at home about Jared's new channel. Slimer Jose's new channel. Yeah. And I love the direction that you went. And I told you this privately, but I love the direction that you went with that, Jose, because I think that there's nobody else in our space doing that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're coming at it from a completely different perspective. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, everyone should check it out. Theme Park Philosophy. So
listen, I understood like 3 words that he said there. So it's you'll learn some stuff there undoubtedly. Permeance is a new word I'm going to use now, and I'm going to act like I came up with it. I'll be like, no, I didn't hear that from anybody else at all.
I'm not inventing these words, by the way. I just learned them.
You should. I would know no difference. I'd be like, oh, that's a good word. Anyways, no, definitely go check it out. And we're going to wrap up here anyway. So be sure to go check out Theme Park Philosophy. It's a great channel, and
absolutely.
I'm going to do one. I told you one of these, I'm going to do I like doing the reaction stuff. I'll do a reaction one of these days. If I can find a video that I can feel like I can keep up with there, I'll be like, hey, I can keep up with this one. And then I'll do a reaction to it or something like that. But it's good stuff there. Before we get out of here, OG55, thank you for being here. As always, greatly appreciate it. Friend of the channel and all that good stuff. So where can I find you and any upcoming videos you got going on?
Yeah, I love you guys. Jared, Philosophy, you guys are amazing. Everyone home, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. A lot of great interaction in the chat today. I mean, we even had the one and only Jay Shearer in the chat. I love that, you know. But yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can also find me on X. Yeah, I'm back on X, you know. I don't know, I'm just dabbling again.
Can't stay away.
toxic. But you can find me on X, Orange Grove 55, and you can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. And obviously, if you're on my channel, you know this, but on the other channels, find me at Cap the Magic. I do daily videos there. And then, of course, we do these live streams. I'm always on OG's channel doing stuff too.
Yes.
And we also have a podcast, my wife and I, if you want some theme park like reviews, tips, strategies, stuff like that for Disney World and Universal Studios, you can check out CTM Podcast, where my wife and I have been doing. That show has been going on for like 9 years.
Wow.
So I feel old. So yeah, that's
awesome.
like that was way before we even started doing YouTube stuff. So that show has been sort of like it's morphed into more of a video podcast now, but it's a good time there. My wife's very smart, knows the theme, but she's been going to Disney since she was like 1. So she knows all the ins and outs and stuff like that. So it'll also be fun when we go out West Coast because I'm going to see Disneyland for the first time. But I think I may also go to Vegas and check out that maybe. I don't like Vegas, but I kind of do want to check out the Horror Unleashed just to see what it's like. But
hey, you know, Vegas is only like from like Anaheim, maybe like a 4 or 5 hour drive. It's not too bad.
okay. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll catch it on the way in or out. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
either way, yeah, we'll have some stuff like that, and we'll do some maybe do a bar chat with OG or something like
Oh,
that.
hell
Check
yeah.
out the West Coast for a few days and all that good stuff. So that'll be coming up later this year. But that's where you can find all of us here. So thank you guys in the chat for being here. By the way, thank you for the we had Kiki and Luca with some gifted memberships, Hidden Geek Village with a super chat there, and all you guys that were participating, greatly appreciate it. Love having you guys on. You guys are a part of the show, so it's a nice thing to have here. And we will see you guys on the next one. I'm sure there'll be plenty of things to discuss, you know, about what Josh is or not doing on the next one. So we'll do that as well. And Nathan here says, Jared, you will be underwhelmed by our castle, but overwhelmed by Disneyland's charm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's well said.
100%.
Yeah.
That is very well put.
That's it.
My wife won't even tell me much. She's like, she wants to film me. Like when we went to Epic and Super Nintendo World, she just had a camera on my face because I was just like a kid. So I think it'll be the same thing there. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it, checking it out. And then I can actually compare the two. And instead of just through, you know, obviously I think you guys are telling me the truth, but I haven't seen it. So we'll figure that out as well. But by the way, thank you guys for being here. You guys have a great night. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys later.